Inspiration featuring a runway fashion show, live music and performances, delicious food, drinks, raffles, and giveaways. Yet beyond the glamour.
He told Ortiz Jenkins, find number 8, find Northcutt, would you? Because he's going to be open.
Let's see how many Huskies come dogging the cat from Arizona. Just the 4. Jenkins steps up. He goes. He does. He's in.
That was one of the most phenomenal plays you'll see in college football. I give him a 10 across the board, Steve.
He does a complete flip into the end zone. And if he doesn't land on his feet, Arizona is turned back.
Well, I tell you what, Cade McNown made a play earlier today against Washington State similar to this, but Ortiz Jenkins, I have never seen something like that, but you see the remarkable athleticism of
Vans, sedans, JDMs, roll out. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. And with eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
At Right Way, our team wouldn't last 5 minutes against the Wildcats, but we definitely do know how to score a touchdown when it comes to great service and your home comfort. Whether it's heating and cooling, water heaters, or a block drain, give us a call today and let us win the game for you, or visit rightwayac.com. Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing is proud to be an official sponsor of Arizona Athletics. Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. If it's worth doing, do it the right way.
Caruso's, a Tucson tradition since 1938, located on historic 4th Avenue. For 4 generations, Caruso's handmade sauce has been prepared with love by a family member, using only the best ingredients. Enjoy specialty Italian dishes like lasagna al forno, chicken tetrazzini, real Italian sausages, spectacular pizza, as well as many vegetarian options. Caruso's offers outdoor dining on their garden patio, with indoor dining also available. Open Tuesday through Sunday, with all your favorites available for takeout. For more information, call 520-624-5765 or visit their website at carusositalian.com.
Attention Tucson. Remember, if it's game day and the Wildcats are taking the floor, you can count on 1290 to bring you all the play-by-play action, the biggest pre- and post-game show in the Pac-12. This is Wildcats Radio 1290.
KCUB Tucson, a Cumulus media station.
We are the sports station that Tucson turns to for all the latest news when it comes to Arizona men's basketball, along with all the play-by-play action. We are Wildcats Radio 1290. Live from the CNWT.
Wait, what's the CNWT?
Central Northwest Tucson. Duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip
with your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
David Amata.
Hey, that's Dragon Ball to you.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Mount Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now,
a man who has not one, but 3 first names.
David Scott Kelly.
D-Day has occurred. The bomb has dropped in Tucson. It must be D-Day because I'm hearing all the static. It's just like the 1940s back again all of a sudden. Oh, it's my mic or it's
no?
Dragon
it sounds like
Ball's
Dragon
mic.
Ball's mic. So we're gonna have him switch over to the other one.
All right, there we go. Well, we'll take Look at Dragon Ball. He's got tools over there and everything. If you're watching on one of our mini streams, that is a radio man at work on his equipment right there. Outstanding. See, we can show you everything. We are taking you behind the scenes.
Just take the other mic. Get the other mic
of radio. All right, we'll get Dragon Ball a chance to get that mic together over there. Meanwhile, again, it is D-Day. The bomb has dropped in the desert. And when I say D, I mean the big D, as in DeAndre Ayton. His time in the desert is over, allegedly. The Portland Trailblazers are trading guard Dame Lillard, the other D in D-Day, to play alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks as a part of a 3-team deal that also includes the Phoenix Suns. And DeAndre Ayton is on his way to Portland, along with Drew Holiday, Tamani Kamara, some picks. The Suns set to receive, you guys are going to have to help me on these names, Yusuf Nurkic.
Yep.
Grayson Allen, oh man, we know him.
Yep.
Nazir Little and Keon Johnson.
Yeah, I'm really sad I got to root against the Suns now. It's too bad. It's really too bad.
Grayson Allen.
That depends on if any of these guys make the roster, because now how many people does that put on the Suns?
We'll get into that because this is not, I mean, this is just the very beginning of this week's fireworks. I would imagine there's quite a lot more moves to come.
Well, we talked about this, that we kind of hinted to it last Friday, that something could be on the cusp with Dame Lillard, who has played in Portland for 11 seasons, a 7-time All-Star. Led the franchise to the playoffs 8 times. They went to the Western Conference Finals 4 years ago, but could just never get over that hump. He asked out this summer. There was rumors of a deal maybe to Miami. There was talk possibly in the last couple of days Toronto could be a landing spot. But they have paired him with one of the best big men in the game, Dame Lillard, and Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee. Man, that is a twosome to be wary of now in the Eastern Conference. The Bucks, who won it just 2 years ago, stumbled last year in the postseason, but maybe now have a piece to put them back at the head of the class. I mean, they were already at the top of the class in the Eastern Conference, but now they may be at the top end, at the head again of the class in the Eastern Conference with this move that they have reportedly made today to acquire Dame Lillard. All right, I'm going to let my NBA guys, because these guys know a whole lot more about basketball than me, tell me if I'm hearing this is not necessarily a great deal for the Suns.
Well, I think, number one, DeAndre Ayton is 25, right? Mm-hmm. And clearly writing's been on the wall there. They've been bringing in a lot of superstars. What if I told you, DK, that he and Book are the last two guys remaining from that finals run on the roster?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've done a lot of clearing since then. That wasn't too long ago, 3 years ago. I'm glad that he's going to have a new, fresh start. Obviously, he's had issues with motivation. That's been since before he even got on campus at the U of A. People questioned whether or not he loved the game of basketball, but going to a new facility, new fan base, I think he gets a fresh start. He's going to be playing with a lot of young guys. I mean, you talk about that roster that's up there. There's going to be a lot of moves. There's a lot to unpack with this trade. I don't think Drew Holiday will stick around there, but with Scoot Henderson, their number one pick this year, and Anthony Simmons, who's only 22, 23, they got a really young core they're trying to build around. So he will go in as the veteran, DK. He's going to go in DeAndre Ayton as the guy who has the most experience among that crew. As far as the Suns go, it was really a matter of addition by subtraction, right? Nurkic has been a very effective defensive center for what it's worth. He has not played, I think, in more than 48 games in the last 4 seasons. A lot of that's been due to potential tanking, where the Blazers held him out or games he could have played. When he does play, I mean, he's definitely a space eater. He's going to be a guy who commands the space under the basket. They don't need scoring on that roster. The guys they brought in with, over the summer, obviously along with Book and KD, they got plenty of scoring on that roster. I don't know. I think it's definitely not good for the Suns. DeAndre Ayton is better at every single capacity than Nurkic is. But if you're only going to get a pouty 50% DeAndre Ayton, DK, there may be a lot more smoke going on. We heard his words over the summer when he was playing for the Bahamas, the Bahamian national team. He said that the whole world was hating on him, is what DeAndre Ayton said this summer. So I think he's taken a lot of blame for potentially effort. Obviously, that monumental loss they had to the Mavericks was they were the butt of a lot of jokes during that offseason, and DeAndre Ayton was at the center of a lot of that. Long term, we'll see what ends up happening actually with these three rosters. But I'll tell you one thing. I looked it up. As far as Dame Lillard going to Milwaukee, he's never played with a guy who commanded doubles. Outside of his first 3 years, he played with LaMarcus Aldridge, and that was towards the end. But it was always C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard were the 1-2 punch for the Blazers for 5-6 years. You know, C.J. would take turns going at defenses. But Damian Lillard's never played with a guy like Giannis, who commands a double every single time down the court. When we talk about the kind of range he has, that could be a scary matchup. You got to make up for the defensive prowess. Jrue Holiday, one of the best defensive guards in modern era. What about you, Mr. Suns fan? What do you think about this trade?
I think that this is a trade that supposedly answers all the Suns fans who were saying that, well, DeAndre Ayton isn't strong under the basket in regards to rebounding. Nurkic is really, in essence, he's the only thing that he was doing in Portland was getting rebounds for Damian Lillard to get his extra possessions and kind of shut down other teams getting a secondary chance on the offensive glass. This is the thing that is shocking to me about this trade that I don't think enough people are talking about. Milwaukee really, in essence, gave up nothing in regards to their core that's going to keep them as title contenders. In this trade, they only give up Grayson Allen and Jrue Holiday. You replace Jrue Holiday with Damian Lillard. You keep Bobby Portis. You keep Malik Beasley. You keep Chris Middleton, which was the thing that I thought was going to happen, that if you were going to unload somebody, Middleton was going to have to be the guy. You maintain a lot of that core that beat the Suns in the final and still gain a guy that's going to be able to get one-on-one opportunities with the shot that he wants to get. And the one thing that's been the issue with the Bucks offensively is that they really didn't have anyone that extended the court. There was no one that had the range that made people have to go ahead and clear out and get off of Giannis, because you're double teaming Giannis every time he's in the paint. Now you have that guy. You have to jump out and respect that three-point shot that Lillard has, and you're going to leave Giannis a lot more one-on-one opportunities to get those shots under the basket.
Yeah, Holiday and Grayson Allen, two of the guys they got rid of, those are streaky shooters. They're capable of making that shot, but nowhere near at that level. I'll tell you another thing they retain, the Bucks. They retain Giannis, because there's been a lot of talk over this offseason. You know, they picked up yet another one of his brothers to join the roster. I think that makes 3 of them on the Milwaukee Bucks roster right now. But there's been talk, DK, about Giannis maybe not being there long term, because he wants to make sure. Guess what? We're flashing back to 5 years ago with Dame. Dame wanted the Blazers to surround him with winning players who were veterans to make a push towards a title. They didn't do that. That's why this summer happened. This was not the 2023 Damian Lillard saga, DK. This happened 5 years ago. Damian Lillard wanted to play for a contender for some time now. The Blazers front office has not done that, and that's where the trade request came from. It's been very patient from his side. Giannis, on the other hand, has always been a Bucks guy. He loves Milwaukee. He said nothing but positive things. This summer is the first time we've heard whispers and actually statements from his own mouth that maybe Milwaukee might not be his long-term resting spot. If he might look towards other places if they don't put contending players around him. So this trade, guys, I mean, that's a message more to Giannis and his camp than it is, I think, anything else, that they're committed to winning now.
Dame Lillard, 33 years old. Last season averaged 32 points and 7 assists, but he played in just 58 games. Missed the last month of the season. You'll remember there was a game in late February. He scored 71 points against the Houston Rockets, and this is an interesting stat. At 32 points a game last season, he is that's the most points by a player to change teams following a season in the history of the NBA. No one had ever scored above that, or at that clip, 32 points a game, and then changed teams the next year. So, again, this is a big move here in the NBA that is happening today. We're going to get much more into this as we move in on this program. We want to hear from you on this. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290. Do you like this move for the Suns? I've never, and I hate to talk bad about DeAndre, but he never did anything for me. He really didn't do much for me here. I never liked his energy. And I just thought it was granted the Suns took him in the first round and it looked like a great move initially. But as the years went on, it was just, I was shocked when they gave him the big money last year. I thought that was a bad mistake by them, that they should have just traded him at that particular point. They might have actually gotten more than they got in this deal right here. But just nothing that he's done in his NBA career has really driven me to say that this is going to be a keystone great center for a long run in the National Basketball League.
I agree, DK, completely with everything you said. And I will say this, the center in the NBA is nothing like it was even 10 years ago. And so because the game's changed so much, it's all 4-out and 5-out sets. It's really a lot of screen setting, rebounding, and making 15 to 20 footers. There are some guys like Embiid, Joker, who are the exception to that, obviously. I mean, is Giannis a center? I mean, he's 7 feet tall. But the thing about DeAndre Ayton people miss out on is that DeAndre Ayton might be the best center in the NBA at switching out on wings off of pick and rolls. And because everything's done in the pick and roll, he's really underrated defensively just for that simple fact. People see a 7'1" guy with a decent vertical, and they think he should be blocking 5 shots a game. He should be pulling down 14 rebounds a game. He sucks if not for those two things. But back even 20 years ago, everything was under the basket. Rebounds were all around the basket. When you're shooting from 30, those rebounds oftentimes are farther away. So rebound numbers for centers go way down. Again, not making excuses for DeAndre Ayton, but in that system, they've had him switch out a lot of times on those quicker players, and he is able to move his feet. Rudy Gobert, guys, could not play in the fourth quarter of the playoffs 2 years ago because they just kept isolating him on the perimeter in pick and rolls, and this is the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA, couldn't stay on the court in the fourth quarter of playoff games for the Jazz because he wasn't able to switch out and move his feet on those quicker players. And DeAndre Ayton was, and that's why they made that run. DeAndre Ayton had a lot to do with that initial run. Now, you're right. The reputation coming in was, does he love the game?
Yeah.
Is he going to give full effort every single night? And if you're a Suns fan and you've watched, I mean, Dragon Ball, it's not the case. He does not give that same effort night in, night out, and that's the most frustrating thing when you pick a guy number one and you've got all the athleticism in the world, incredible touch around the basket, and sometimes you maybe just don't feel like going at it hard. That's hard to get behind and root for. You give a lot of leash, you give a lot of rope, right? And then after a while, you start wondering, is this ever going to turn around? I hope for his sake it does. I hope for his sake that this is a complete monumental moment and mind-changing moment for him, and he comes in with a completely different attitude.
The one thing I will say to this very, very quickly is that this could be one of those moments in Suns basketball history where it's the biggest what-if question, because you're bringing in a coach like Frank Vogel whose entire game is dedicated to having one of these big, tall 7-footers under the basket. You go back to his time in Indiana, he made Roy Hibbert an actual stellar basketball player. The minute Vogel left, Hibbert fell off a cliff after that. He was able, Frank Vogel, let's not forget, he won that, whether you want to call it the Mickey Mouse ring or whatever the case may be, he took a Los Angeles Lakers team with Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis in the front court and made that a championship contending team. Whether or not you want to say that that's because they got healthy at the right time or whatnot because of the delay to the beginning of the season again, besides the point, Frank Vogel knows how to coach big guys. So that's going to be the biggest what if to this is, if they let Frank Vogel coach DeAndre Ayton, what could he have gotten out of DeAndre Ayton if given the opportunity?
All right, we'll get much more into this as we continue here. 520-848-1290 is the number to get on the program. We got a lot on the docket today. A busy hump day Wednesday. We're going to talk to Andy Morales from All Sports Tucson in this hour. Mariah Cruz from Pima Cross Country is going to join us. She has overcome a lot in her life to be a collegiate athlete. And Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson, speaking of NBA guys, spoke today about their appearance at the Red Blue game this weekend, and they spoke about a lot of stuff. Some good content there as well. We'll get you all of that. Joining us is the fourth member of our program today. It is Christy.
Hello.
What is going on? Christy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Outstanding. What is happening out in your world this week anyway?
I had a day off yesterday.
Wait, what?
I know.
The post office gave people a day off?
They actually did not have to call. We had one 2 whole days where nobody called out. I was like, something's got to happen. But
back-to-back days off.
I know. Well, yeah, I'm scheduled these days no matter what. I'm always have Wednesdays off. Thank heavens. But I think, maybe the carriers are just preparing for the dreaded Amazon days that are coming.
Boy. Amazon days. That sounds like
once you get to October.
Jeez, Amazon days. All right.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it is October 10th and 11th is Amazon days, and it's
Oh man.
a couple days after that.
I wish my birthday is October 5th. I wish my birthday was on an Amazon day. I might get more stuff.
There you go. Aim high.
Getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and the weather. On Wednesday is Christy.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together. We have a couple collisions, La Cañada Drive and Duval Mine Road. Bilby Road and 6th Avenue, you can use Nogales Highway instead. We're also seeing some slowing on Lambert Lane and La Cañada Drive, and a stalled vehicle causing quite a bit of slowing on Grant and Beverly. You can use Pima instead. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 68. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 98. And it's currently 103 outside. I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is...
ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wildcats Radio 1290. 2020 Sports.
The DeAndre Ayton era for the Phoenix Suns is officially over as the team trades the former Arizona Wildcat #1 overall pick to the Portland Trail Blazers in a blockbuster 3-team deal that included the Milwaukee Bucks. As it stands, the Suns will acquire Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Portland receives Drew Holiday, Ayton, and Toumani Camara along with draft picks. The Bucks make the biggest splash as they bring in point guard Damian Lillard to play alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. Several rookie quarterbacks made their return to the practice field, but there is no certainty that they'll be back on the field for this week. Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson was back with the team after going through concussion protocol. And again, Panthers top pick Bryce Young was able to be back on the field after sitting out last week with an ankle injury. Still no guarantee that either of them will be returning under center this week. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program, reacting to today's news that the Suns are trading away DeAndre Ayton, who played a season here at the University of Arizona, a one-and-done player under Sean Miller, who came in with a lot of high regard. What was the name of the prep school he played at in Phoenix? Oh, gosh. Can't even remember.
I think it was like Hillcrest or something like that.
Yeah, Hillcrest Prep he played at there.
Hillcrest Prep, yep.
Yeah, and then came in to play for the Wildcats in 2019, and then on to the NBA as a #1 overall pick, the first Wildcat to ever be taken #1 overall in an NBA draft, and a Suns player, obviously, that was on the team that went to the finals in 2021 and had a chance to win up to, what, they up 2-1 in that, or was it 2-1 or 2-0?
I think 2-1.
I think it was 2-1.
Yeah. 2-1, but lost 3 straight to fall 4-2 to the Milwaukee Bucks. Interesting, you pointed out in the first segment, JW, that essentially the only player left from that team is Devin Booker. When you look at DeAndre Ayton, gone. Mikal Bridges, gone. Torrey Craig, gone. Jay Crowder, gone. Frank Kaminsky, thank goodness, gone.
You don't like the Tank? Come on.
Come on, man.
I mean, let me put it this way. Frank the Tank in college.
Was he the one that married the girl who's on TV here? Frank Kaminsky?
I couldn't tell you that.
Frank the Tank in college, screw that guy. But Frank the Tank for the Suns, I mean, he was that guy, you always had to root for because when he got in games, it was a good thing.
Chris Paul, gone. Cam Payne, gone.
Recently gone, yeah.
Cam Johnson. I mean, that it's crazy.
Yeah, even Dario Saric.
I don't know that Dario.
I will attest to this. If Dario doesn't get hurt, that might be a different series.
Don't badmouth Dario Saric because he was a really, really good quality player.
He was the main guy that was keeping Ayton out of foul trouble with his minutes in the later part of that series. Had he been there, that might have not been the issue.
And again, I understand there's a new owner there, obviously with Matt Ishbia, but you rarely see a championship team like that turn over in essentially, now this is going into 3 years since that
conference
2 years
champion.
Ago?
That's the difference.
Sure.
If it's a world champion, you keep it together. If it's a conference champion and you don't win it, then you got to blow it up and do something different.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you become the Miami Heat. You're always on the precipice of being that championship team, but look at the Heat. They've kept the main core that they had during the time when they went to the bubble of a final against the Lakers, and they still are just the bridesmaid, not the bride, even after getting to the finals this season.
You guys are missing out on the one key stat. 47, 46, 36. Those are the top three salaries for the Suns, from Kevin Durant for $47 million, Bradley Beal, $46 million, Devin Booker, $36 million. These guys they brought in over the summer, DK, with the new structure, they had already passed the second threshold. You got to do that for multiple years in order to get that big penalty. But having DeAndre Ayton just freshly signed that secondary contract, his rookie second contract, his numbers kind of needed to come off the books in order for them to kind of move forward with this. So it's more of a salary situation. Obviously, nobody's going to look at Nurkic and think that guy can do all the same things DeAndre Ayton can do. However, for what the Suns need with their current roster and their new ownership, with Durant and Beal and Booker, they've got a lot of scoring on that team, right? So they also picked up Bol, who maybe potentially could get in and play a little bit of that position as well. So there's a lot of guys on this team. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, because training camp's not too far away, and this is not the final move of the offseason.
Do you think there was something else, though, that soured between the time that Vogel got here and now, that they decided, because they talked all summer long that this is something that they wanted to make work? Or was it just that they hadn't gotten the deal that they were looking for until apparently this was the deal they were looking for? It just doesn't seem like a deal to me that you would trade a guy like 8 and 4. Like, you would still maybe try to see if you could have gotten more for him, but I just think that there's something else had to have happened. Just they've been around now 2-3 months. They figured out who he is, and they said, okay, this is not the guy we want.
So, DK, you were saying that, okay, the Suns made it clear they wanted to try and make this work. Now, are we talking about the year?
That's what they said.
Are we talking about the year in 2023 or the year of 2022 or the year of 2021? Because it seems like every offseason that has been the conversation for the Suns.
This is a whole different regime. This particular new regime said they wanted to try to make this work.
You can change the paint on a car, and if the smell inside of it is still not good, then it's not a car you want to drive.
Absolutely agree.
I think it's as simple as the landscape of the NBA does not need DeAndre Ayton-style centers to run offenses. It doesn't work like that anymore. You have to have guys. If you look around the league, DK, the last MVPs of the league are Joker, who's one of a kind. Nobody plays the game like him. Nobody ever has, maybe except for Bill Walton in his prime. And you look at Embiid. Embiid makes a lot of his buckets off the dribble. He's a face-up guy, so he'll face up a lot from the three-point line. Ayton does neither of those two things. So in the world when you're talking about having two, if not the best two scorers in the NBA, two of the 3 or 4 best scorers in the NBA on your roster, it's really a situation where maybe you don't want your center hovering between 6 and 10 feet, which is where Ayton does most of his best work. I think when they let him shoot that shot, Dragon Ball, and you remember his first few years, I think he was the most effective, but the spacing in the NBA is really what it's all about these days. So when you've got Beal, Durant, Booker, they're all running around trying to find, guess what? Mid-range jump shots. That's what those guys do. That's where DeAndre Ayton's taking up a lot of space. And it actually makes more space for those guys to go to work when they don't have that guy. Nurkic, on the other hand, isn't going to be coming out that far. He'll be parked right under the basket more often than not. So
did NBA executives not see this change in the game coming? That DeAndre Ayton would have been a top pick in 2018?
I don't think it was that. I think it was just that his size and athleticism and the way he guarded perimeter. Actually, Coach Miller had him out on the perimeter switching off on those same positions. So what they saw was a guy with the lateral foot speed to be able to stay with the 4-out and 5-out sets that modern NBA runs. So having the option of having a big guy out there who can go up and get buckets, clearly he's super efficient. I don't think he's shot less than 58% in his entire career in the NBA. I mean, he's a very efficient scorer. He doesn't get a lot of looks. But the reason he was drafted number 1 is 2 reasons. He just checked all the boxes except for maybe motivation, and people didn't know how good Luka was. People had only seen these grainy YouTube videos, so the revisionist history is, oh, wow, why didn't you take Luka? He's a generational talent. Well, nobody really knew that to be true because they'd only seen him play at Barcelona, and they thought, hey, maybe he can't do that. He's a little too slow-footed to do that in the NBA. Fast forward 5 years later, and Luka is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. And the reason DeAndre Ayton, frankly, has taken a lot of grief is because he's simply not Luka Doncic.
there's still a belief that European players are not as tough as kids that play college basketball in the United States. And I think that we've seen some evidence to suggest that those people who have that argument, maybe they're not entirely wrong. We talk about Kristaps Porzingis. He was a top 10 pick for the Knicks a couple years ago, and the man hasn't had a fully healthy season since probably his rookie year in New York. So when you get Luka, you talk about whether or not he could do what he was doing in the EuroLeague in the NBA. A lot of people said probably not. You look at what he was, and you looked at his body frame, you looked at how he was built. Everyone thought that, this kid's probably not going to have the stamina to keep up with people who have been doing this on the state side for a long time. Turns out that wasn't the case. Then again, everybody gets wrong once in a while. Everybody gets right once in a while.
It used to be pretty black and white, right? We remember Drazen Petrovic in the early days, DK. Remember the Gasol brothers obviously had their run. There's been a lot of very good and very talented European bigs and wing players that didn't check the boxes that he's talking about. However, a lot of teams stretched and reached on players during that time. They were trying to find the next European diamond in the rough and failed on some top 10 picks. And then the trend went the other way where we started second guessing a lot of it. When Luka was coming out, it was really just his measurables, DK. I mean, he had like a 15% body fat. He wasn't very quick-footed. People thought there's no way he's going to be able to do the stuff we're seeing on the film against some quicker guards. And sure enough, he was. He just plays at his pace. He's got that Larry Bird. I'm going to go exactly how fast I want to go. Do whatever the hell you want. You're not going to stop me. That's his style. And people just didn't see that translating. But guys, I mean, the last 4 MVPs are all Europeans, right?
Yeah. For every Mark and Pau Gasol and Giannis Antetokounmpo you still will go ahead and come up with a Darko Milicic. You'll still come up with an Andres Biedrins. You'll still come up with an Andrea Bargnani.
Keep going.
I mean, there's so many. There's so many that you get right and so many you get wrong. And in the end, DeAndre Ayton, he's probably not a wrong player. It's just that he wasn't in the right fit, whether it be for the team, the system, or the era. We can make whatever decisions we want on that. DeAndre Ayton is still what you would describe as a number one center on any team. That's the thing about this, is that he's still a starting center. We're not pretending that he's a backup anywhere. This is not Alex Len, where he's only starting because the Suns' entire roster had no talent. DeAndre Ayton is a top starting center on any team in the NBA, wherever you look. And he will be starting in Portland, and it's going to be a huge boon to a guy like Scoot Henderson, who's going to be able to feed the big fella down low. And that's all DeAndre really needed. But it's just that you couldn't do that.
He got phased out a lot. Anybody who watched Suns games would see Ayton go 8 for 10 in the second quarter, and then it would all be Booker and CP3 in the third and fourth quarters because that was the offense. Monty wanted them to finish games from the mid-range from those two guys, and Ayton got phased out of a lot of games where he could have had 40 or 50 points, DK, easily because he was just going to work and killing guys, but he just didn't get the touches because of that offense. Again, it's all 4-out, 5-out style offenses these days. And that center, especially a center who rolls a lot and is rolling to open spots, gets lost. If you're Embiid and you're the guy who's got the ball in your hands all the time, you dictate where those shots come from. But if you're Ayton, you're not controlling where those shots come from in the third and fourth quarters. And he just did not. I mean, guys, look at the number of shot attempts he got. 12, second year, 14.9. That was his career high. Third year, 10. Fourth year, 12. Last year, 13. So these are the number of field goal attempts for a guy who's shooting a career. He is a 59.7 career field goal shooter in the NBA. 60%.
Yeah. All right, 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. What are your thoughts on this trade, proposed trade that everyone is reporting today, but it has not been officially said by the teams just yet? We want to hear from you on that. Getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather on Wednesday is Christy.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together. We still have that collision on Bilby Road and 6th Avenue. That's 6th Avenue and Bilby Road. Still causing quite a bit of slowing. You can use Nogales Highway instead. Also, we're still seeing some slowing from an earlier stalled vehicle at Grant Road and Beverly. That's Beverly and Grant. You can use Pima as an alternate route. It's currently sunny and 103 degrees outside. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 68. I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Saturdays are made for football, and when the game is on, we're finally off. Off duty, offline, out of office. A cracked Coors Light is our do not disturb message to the world. On game day, we don't think about the 9 to 5, but worry about the 4th and 1. So this Saturday, grab a Coors Light, press play on some pigskin, and pause on everything else. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment, made to chill. 2021 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Start Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get up to a $25 gift card after rebate with the purchase of select Superstart batteries. Our professional parts people will test your old battery for free and recommend the right battery for your vehicle. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. From local town councils to Capitol Hill, agents who are realtors are standing up for what's right. We're here protecting property rights. Here advocating for the issues that affect our neighborhoods. Here championing fair and equitable housing for all. Because we're realtors, bound by a code of ethics, driven to serve our communities. We're here for it all. Here for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
License 240693.
Broken AC?
It should be fixed.
Broken furnace?
Gotta fix it.
We believe broken things should be fixed.
And boy, are we good at it. But if Alaskan AC fixed something, and you decide you would rather upgrade to something new,
we'll deduct whatever you paid for the repair to a brand new system.
Even if we didn't do the repair. How about that? We know you've been dreaming about one of those sexy new systems. Gary's definition of sexy is different from regular people.
So if we did a repair,
or anyone did one in the past 6 months,
we'll deduct the price of that repair from the cost of a new, more efficient heating and cooling system.
Saving money on something new? And major savings on your utility bills.
It's another pull.
We get 20 hours. That's the thing about college football. And there's a lot of offense we got to defend. So we got to do a really good job. Our staff's done a great job, passing the assignments over to the players, and then obviously they got to execute.
Arizona still sits at an 18.5-point underdog in that contest. College football will be shelving their discussions about expanding to a 12-team format for their postseason, as the management committee instead opted to go ahead and wait to see what the future of the Pac-12 conference will look like, according to the college football president and executive director, Bill Hancock. Again, only Oregon State and Washington State are currently listed as the two teams that will be in the conference in 2024, depending on their decisions. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, 520-848-1290 is the number for you to get in on this program by way of call or by way of text. Let's shift our focus and talk some high school sports with a man who covers high schools better than anyone in Southern Arizona, along with his brother Javier. It is Andy Morales from All Sports Tucson, joining us for the first time on the program. Andy, welcome in to DK on the Sports Tip.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good, brother. It's good. Glad to get a chance to talk to you. And Andy, it's been an interesting start to this high school football season, and I think the takeaway from the early part of this season for me, though, has been the early success we saw from some teams that normally don't have a lot of success on the football field. We were out at Catalina last Friday night. They'd gotten off to a 3-0 start to the season. You had Rincon win their first two games. You had Choya win a couple of games right off the bat. It was really nice to kind of see some of those teams that we normally don't talk about near the end of the season. They'll get off to some fast starts here in Southern Arizona. It really makes football across the board better when some of those teams start winning a few games.
Yeah, the so-called small schools, the inner city schools, it was really a pleasant surprise. And, Tanque Verde 4-1. It's just a different feel. Obviously, Palo Verde's still struggling. But yeah, Catalina, Rincon. I mean, they made, for some of those teams, challenging for a region championship is great. I mean, obviously they're not going to finish in the top 16, but to see them winning, as you said, undefeated in the beginning, that was really great, because everyone usually focuses on the Sell Points, Moranas, the CDOs, Micah Mountains, but they forced us to watch them.
Well, you mentioned Micah Mountain. That I'll go there next. Is that slowly becoming one of the best, if not the best, athletic programs in Southern Arizona? I mean, their football team hasn't lost in a long time, and their volleyball team is quickly becoming one of the better programs in Southern Arizona.
Yeah, baseball, golf, basketball. What they've done is they've collected championship coaches from around the state, coaches who, Amy Johnson, volleyball, has approaching 800 wins. She just took care of Heather Moore Martin at South Point, which would have been unheard of like 3 years ago. And then the Micah Mountain, the Colbert, Caden, Luke battle is going to be coming in 2 weeks. That's going to be huge. CDO, they're going to be tackling each other.
Yeah, that's going to be something. That is going to be something. We had Caden Luke on a few weeks ago, and you're talking about Kason Colbert, the outstanding running back linebacker over at Micah Mountain, man. And they both play both ways. So like you just said, when Caden Luke's on offense, Kason Colbert's going to be looking for him. And when Kason Colbert's on offense, Caden Luke is going to be looking for him. And that was actually one of the surprising games last year. I think everybody went in there and thought they thought the CDO would roll in that game, and it didn't really turn out that way.
Well, there's a lot of history there, because Pat Nugent, Dusty Peace was Pat Nugent's assistant coach, and he handed him, when he went to Pima, he handed him his team with this guy named Kadeem Carey in the backfield. And I think Dustin Peace went like 28-1 or something to the state championship. And Pat's always wondering, what if I would have just stayed at CDO? But there is something about playing your mentor. I think that got into CDO's head. There's a few guys in Phoenix who thinks if Micah Mountain beats CDO, the way Micah Mountain's schedule is, they might have enough points. It's going to be very difficult over the multiplier to get into the open division. I don't think you want to do that as a 4A team. But yeah, that might be. Hopefully, they're on the opposite ends of the bracket because that's like a state championship game right away. And the thing about Caden Luke, he wants to play for ASU really bad.
Wow.
Because he's a state champion wrestler.
Yeah, that's true.
And ASU has a wrestling program. But I don't think ASU even knows that he wants to go there. So that's another thing they're going to be pushing. But yeah, that's going to be the battle. Besides the one this weekend with this Friday, Push Ridge and Sabino, that's probably going to be the game of the year.
Andy Morales joining us from All Sports Tucson, and you mentioned the big game coming up this weekend. That's in Conference 3A. Push Ridge Christian, Sabino, a lot of firepower. Their only loss was to Micah Mountain this season. How surprised are you that Push Ridge has been able to sustain their success? I mean, they kind of came on the scene in around 2014, and they've really been able to be at the top. You know, even they started out obviously as a 2A, they moved up to 3A, but they've been able to sustain that success.
Yeah, it's Kent Middleton is in the running for Coach of the Year because of what they've done with what they've lost last year. With the Mustaine is at the U of A now. Several linemen have gone, but he's undefeated. And this game, and everyone expected Breyer to be be good because, like you said, they have a what do you call it? Someone who's going to Cam Hackworth's probably going to be the next person to pass for 8,000 yards in Southern Arizona.
Yeah.
It's this game should be it for 3A because a lot of the way it's set up, a lot of the 3A powers are now in 4A. Some are in 5A. Castile is gone. Yuma Catholic's gone. All those teams. So this could be the chance for Southern Arizona to win. The rankings don't show that right yet, but whoever wins this one is going to be PowerPoints in a gift bag, and it's going to be when it's all said and done. It's going to be Red Rodriguez and Cam Hackworth, the best quarterbacks in Southern Arizona history. So we're on the verge of watching history, and this Friday could be something for a lot of people to go watch.
Yeah, well, this is another game. We hearkening back to last year's matchup when I think a lot of people thought Sabino was going to go up to the north side and roll, and they lost by 3 touchdowns. So it's becoming, I think, one of the better rivalries in Southern Arizona annually. Push Ridge and Sabino, and they'll head out east to play this Friday night. Out at the Sabre Dome. Should be indeed one to watch. Anthony Morales joining us from All Sports Tucson. Anthony, obviously we've got some other fall sports going on right now. You've got boys and girls golf is happening. You've got the cross country happening, and you're basically out at everything. Fill us in on a couple of those other sports and some teams and players on the golf course that we need to be watching and paying attention to, as well as running on the golf courses this fall.
Well, for golf, boys golf, there's this guy named Finn Meister at Catalina Foothills. Great chance to win a state championship. Foothills and Iron Ridge boys. Iron Ridge won the team championship last year. Grayson Briones won the individual title a couple years ago. So those are the two boys teams. Unfortunately, South Point has fallen off to the wayside. They had Carlos Hassatarian, but he's at Pacific now, and they're really struggling to put a team together. But the girls, South Point girls, are doing well. Unfortunately, the state championship is no longer in Tucson, as the Omni basically kicked all the tournaments out.
Yeah, they've lost everything out there.
Yeah, I guess the members were tired of losing days to several different. I think colleges have tournaments there, but not anymore. Maybe I think the MAC might still, or whatever it's called, the WAC. But yeah, now they're all going to Levine for the state championships, so it's going to be harder for people to watch. And then swimming's down. There's no more diving in Southern Arizona. I don't think people. I thought with what's her name winning a silver medal,
Delaney Schnell.
Yeah, that it would take off, but with the recruiting issues at Arizona, they've stopped the club diving team, and that's just killed the sport in Southern Arizona. So it's all swimming, and no diving. We several state champions. Foothills again, CDO are going to be competing. I haven't seen much cross country yet, but Iron Ridge, I think, has a kid going to U of A. I think Finn Meister, the golfer I talked about, might be going to U of A. But yeah, there's all these other sports. There's fall soccer. It's just a very difficult time of the year. Sometimes I can't wait for winter when it's only soccer, wrestling, and basketball. I mean, that's
yeah. Well, I'll let you cover some of those soccer matches. To me, I give those kids a medal for going out there and playing soccer because people think, oh, it doesn't get cold in Arizona. Well, yeah, you should go to a high school soccer match in December or January. You'll find out how cold it is in Arizona.
They have to wear shorts. They have to wear shorts, which is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Andy, we appreciate so you'll be at the main game. Where will Javi be on Friday night?
Javier's going to be at the Tanque Verde game, which is also going to be.
Oh yeah, Tanque Verde and Tombstone. That's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, and Bolma, another coach running for the Coach of the Year. With him and what's his name from last year? Turned the program around. I remember when
Jay Dobbins.
It was a 1A team that played on Saturday mornings. They had no lights, and 15. You've been here a while.
Yeah.
And now they're a big 3A school, and they're one of the reasons why Sabino is 3A. Because Sabino used to be a 4A, 5A school, but they're down to 900 kids, and so that's going to be another game. Javier got that game. I got the Push Ridge game, and all the region games are this week. So it's going to be a great Friday. And then we have flag football.
Oh yeah, we'll have to talk about that next time we have you on, Javier, for sure. Andy, for sure. Hey, Andy, I appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much.
Okay, take care, guys.
Andy Morales, All Sports Tucson, our guest. Let's get a break in here at the top of the hour. We'll talk more about the DeAndre Ayton trade, and we'll let you hear from Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson. They had some interesting things to say in their Zoom call for the Red Blue Showcase coming up on Friday. This is DK on the Sports Tip. You are listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather Together. We have quite a bit of slowing around town eastbound Broadway as you approach I-10. Also eastbound Speedway near the U of A as you also approach I-10. And we also have a report of a hanging wire causing quite a bit of slowing for eastbound Grant Road as you approach I-10. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 98, overnight low 68 degrees, and currently it's 103 degrees outside. I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather Together.
Sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Wake up, Eugene! You're gonna be late again!
Go away, Doug. You're interrupting my dream about getting new tires installed.
Right, Eugene. And last week before you borrowed my car to get groceries, you were dreaming of an extra large bag of Cheezos.
Exactly, Doug. I can see the future. I'm practically clairvoyant.
Not sure you have that gift, but you do have an appointment for new tires at Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care. So let's get going.
If you insist.
I do insist because I'm dreaming of you driving your own car for a change.
Great choice, Eugene. Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care will turn your tire dreams into reality at any of our 14 area locations.
And remember, Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care's one low price includes all the tire installation services you need.
Tire mounting and balancing, new rubber valve stems, and we'll even rotate and repair your tires at no extra charge.
That's $95 in savings.
This is Sean Furrier. Since 1960, Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care. Here to get you there.
We get you so close to McHale, it sounds like the Arizona Pep Band is riding in your back seat.
What the hell is going on?
This is the home of Arizona men's basketball. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
The sound of an ice cold Corona is music to my ears.
Oh, run that back. Dope. Now drop that beat. And hit me with the hook, player. Hey, whatever you do with your fine life, just do you, player. Relax responsibly. Corona Extra Beer, imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Join David Kelly for Bear Down Fridays at Illegal Pete's this Friday from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. as we get ready for the Wildcats to take on Washington at Arizona Stadium this Saturday. Sponsored by Corona, the official corporate sponsor of Arizona Athletics. Go Cats!
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
Get the backyard you've always wanted with a custom pool from First Choice Pools. A backyard oasis built around you. First Choice is a full-service builder of beautiful in-ground pools and backyard designs for years of staycations. If you're ready to dive in, then visit TucsonPoolBuilder.com. Schedule now and get 3 months of full service free. First Choice Pools for installs, renovation, remodeling, and repair. Get started today at TucsonPoolBuilders.com. First Choice Pools, the first and only choice.
Saturday, September 30th. Begin your game day with us on Wildcats Radio 1290. 3 games at 2:30 leading up to kickoff at 7 p.m. versus the Washington Huskies. Live from Arizona Stadium on Wildcats Radio 1290. KCUB Tucson, a Cumulus media station. We have the Arizona Wildcats covered on game day like no one else, with the biggest pre- and post-game coverage in the Pac-12. We are Wildcats Radio 1290.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale is on, with limited quantity deals on top tech. Save on select PCs powered by the latest 12th gen Intel Core processors like thin and light XPS 13 laptops, Inspiron laptops, and 2-in-1s. Plus, get savings on select accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Sports fans in Tucson can't survive without 1290. In the fall, we bring you Arizona football, the NFL, and the Super Bowl. Then 1290 brings you Arizona men's basketball. And in the spring, Arizona baseball. Wildcats Radio 1290. Wildcats Radio 1290. 2020 Sports.
Former Arizona Wildcat will be potentially active during this upcoming weekend for the NFL action, as ex-U of A defensive lineman Roy Lopez was elevated to the Arizona Cardinals active roster just days after being brought on board as a practice squad member. Lopez had started 20 games the previous 2 seasons with the Houston Texans after going in the 6th round in the 2021 draft, and now the Tempe native has a chance to go ahead and play for the Cardinals this weekend. Well, the Diamondbacks stay alive in a wild-card race with the second straight win over the White Sox, as Arizona got away with a big 3rd inning to collect the only 3 runs they needed to come out with the win.
And Corbin finds a gap. Here we go. Peterson's going to come around and score. Let's see how fast Perdomo can run. Here comes Geraldo. Corbin Carroll with a 2-run double. Tommy swings 3-0 and lines it right by Sosa at 3rd. Corbin scores. RBI single for Tommy Pham in a 3-0 D-backs lead.
The shutout victory keeps Arizona in second place in the wild card race, but the team's depth at pitching will be tested after they place Zach Davies on the injured list. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290. Diamondbacks download.
Baseball stuff! Baseball stuff!
All right, the Diamondbacks are doing what they need to do. They are closing fast, closing the right way. They win again this afternoon in the Windy City over the Chicago White Sox by a score of 3-0. Their second straight victory. Let's go back and tell you a little bit about what happened in last night's game. They were down early 3-0 to the White Sox last night with Zach Davies on the hill. And you heard in Dragon Ball's Diamondbacks update, their 2020 update, that Zach Davies, though, now is headed to the injured list. But the bats brought them back. And in particular, it was one bat, Christian Walker, 3 for 5, 2 home runs, 6 runs batted in. He had 2 home runs and a triple, did Christian Walker. Walker now on the season, 33 home runs, 103 runs batted in. That win and a loss last night by another team contending in the National League wild card race lowered the Diamondbacks' magic number to 4. Today, Brandon Pfaadt went out there. The Diamondbacks would score 3 times in the 3rd inning. Corbin Carroll would provide the first stroke.
And Corbin finds a gap. Here we go. Peterson's going to come around and score. Let's see how fast Perdomo can run. Here comes Geraldo. Corbin Carroll with a 2-run double.
Just get extended. It's nice for a left-handed hitter right there, and shoots it in that right center field gap. Splits the gap between the center fielder and the right fielder.
So 2-0 at that point for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Later on in that inning, it would be Tommy Pham.
Tommy swings 3-0 and lines it right by Sosa at third. Corbin scores. RBI single for Tommy Pham in a 3-0 D-backs lead.
To get that green light, just smart enough to know what to do with a 3-0 pitch. He had a rocket past the third baseman.
And that is all the Diamondbacks would need on this day. How about this? 5 pitchers combined for 14 strikeouts, led by Brandon Pfaadt, who gets his 3rd win, 5 2/3. He had 8 of those 14 Ks, and then the bullpen shut it down after that. So the Diamondbacks' magic number at the moment is just 3. It could go down lower than that tonight, depending on how other games transpire. The Marlins are playing a doubleheader this evening. The Cubs are also in action this evening. Right now, the Diamondbacks have a 1.5 lead over the Chicago Cubs, who are sitting in that 3rd wild card spot. The 2 teams on the outside looking in right now are the Miami Marlins, who trail the Cubs by a half game, and the Cincinnati Reds, who are losing in Cleveland right now, and they trail by a 1.5. So the Diamondbacks will play one more game in Chicago tomorrow morning. That is an 11:10 a.m. first pitch for game number 3 of that series before they come home to take on the Houston Astros. The Diamondbacks they've not announced their pitcher yet for that ball game. Touki Toussaint, the former Diamondbacks #1 pick, who's on his 2nd team this year, will go for the White Sox. He is 4-7 with a 5.10 ERA. But again, the good news is the Diamondbacks' magic number is now sitting at just 3 and could go down to as low as 2 later this evening.
A schizophrenic team, DK. We watched all year. It's like 2-8, followed by 8-2, followed by 2-8, followed by 8-2. Well, guess what? They are in their last 10.
8-2.
8-2. And now they're up to an 89% chance of making the playoffs.
There you go. I like that. They've got 84 wins this season. And that's, it's interesting because normally I would say, and again, it's different now with the wild card because you have more wild card teams. Because there used to be only one wild card team, and that would have been the Phillies, because you generally need right about 90 wins to get in to the postseason. But now with this expanded wild card, the Diamondbacks could, if they won out, they'd have 88, but they could get even with even less than that. They could get in with 86 wins into the postseason, which usually in years past, before they expanded the playoffs, would have been very, very hard to do. All right, you want to talk about the D-backs? We'll talk about that today. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. So the Red Blue Showcase is happening this Friday night at McHale Center. A couple of Wildcat alums are going to be in the house. Channing Frye, Richard Jefferson. They're bringing their road tripping podcast to Tucson. It sounds like they're actually hosting this event, because we mentioned yesterday it's not going to be on television. It's not going to be streamed. But the gist I got from the press conference today is they're actually going to be the hosts of this event inside the arena. So you get to see two of your Wildcat favorite Wildcat alums host the Red Blue game on Friday night. And they talked about today in a Zoom call with us about what it meant for them to come back and do this.
My 6 and 8 year old boys are going to go to Tucson. I don't know if it's the first time, but this is the first time that they'll fully get it, the experience. And I am so excited because there is no other experience like this. When my kids get a chance to see that people go crazy over just an inter squad scrimmage and it's sold out and they're going to have jerseys on with their names on the back, my kids are going to lose it, because this is such a unique experience inside of the culture of basketball. And, to get that experience and to be a part of it is something that's special.
I think it just shows you like how important U of A basketball is, not only to Tucson, but to Arizona. I think, it's easy to go to an Arizona-Kansas game, an Arizona-UCLA game when they're both ranked pretty high. But to pack it out and have the electricity and energy of like a red and blue game, like as a freshman, you see glimpses of it, right? You may go to a red and blue game, but like when I went to go see Richard, when I was a junior in high school, I was like, oh, this is the number one team in the country. Of course they're going to go pack it out. But then we were like, I think my freshman year, we were supposed to be like last in the Pac-10.
Yeah, it was something you guys were supposed to be trash.
We were supposed to be, but we weren't. So you. But it just is like you realize that it's more than just basketball. This is like the culture of Tucson. So it gets you hype. It gets me hype talking about it.
I mean, there were a whole lot of beeps in that press conference today.
You think they're worried at the PA box at McHale?
They might want to be.
No, I just think they're so loose. I mean, those guys are two Phoenix kids. They're clearly, have been friends for such a long period of time. And you can tell anytime you see them together that's like, those are brothers, right?
Yeah.
And so you get a little loose with the language, I think, when you're with your closest friends.
I mean, again, you don't get two more entertaining Arizona Wildcats, and you'll hear coming up, we'll get more into this as well a little bit later, but and you'll hear the question I asked them about, why or what maybe might have happened to them, or the things that they experienced here at U of A that got them involved in the media, and some of the interesting things that they say about that. But these two guys, I kind of categorize them as media, but because they, obviously Richard Jefferson is on ESPN and all of that, but they really look at themselves more as entertainers.
Yeah.
That's how they look at themselves in terms of what they're doing now post-NBA.
You go back, and I go back as far as the early 80s. So watching Steve Kerr, watching Tom Tolbert in college, DK, it was pretty evident that they had charisma, that they could command a room even at 20. And Richard Jefferson was no different when he was on campus. Clearly, he's always been a very well-spoken guy. He obviously can gather his thoughts and can really spell it out for you. And he also likes to joke around a bit. He's a bit of a clown, that kind of personality. So perfect type of personality for a media role, in that he's, entertainer, but also fills that role of the X's and O's guy when he needs to be. So he's got a great blend of those two things, especially when he's with other guys that fit that same build, like JJ, a similar style. I think he plays really well off of that.
And you'll hear more from those two U of A alums coming up in this hour again. And also the very interesting comments about the brouhaha after Tommy Lloyd was initially hired as head coach. There had been talk that there were some alums that necessarily weren't happy with that decision. Richard Jefferson goes in depth about what that was actually all about. You'll definitely want to hear that. We'll have that coming up for you here as well in this hour. We were mentioning at the top the Diamondbacks win today 3-0. I mentioned Zach Davies, who we had initially said was going on the injured list potentially. Well, we're just now finding out he's actually been designated for assignment. Has Zach Davies. The D-backs have recalled Justin Martinez, or actually that probably did happen before the game today. So Justin Martinez is coming back to the team from AAA Reno. Zach Davies. So this sounds like it might be something that was going to keep him out for the postseason. And so they had to make a roster move potentially to have another arm, to prep another arm for potential postseason baseball, and obviously Zach Davies was not likely going to pitch again this year for the Diamondbacks.
Again, he gave up the 4 runs in that first game, so it got to be a bit of a tough run for him in that first game against the White Sox. So clearly something wasn't right with him, and now they got to go ahead and move on without Zach Davies, another starting pitcher out of their rotation.
And let's another interesting thing when we're talking about Major League Baseball here is the recent play of Arizona Wildcats grad Austin Wells. Austin Wells, the last game in the Yankees won against the Diamondbacks before they went to Chicago. He hit a home run that day. And then he also, yesterday in a game that...
Right field. There it goes. See ya. A long shot into the bleachers. 2-run home run. It's a 2-2 game.
Hit it hard enough where the wind can't affect it. This was a rocket from Austin Wells.
So Wells hit a home run on, I believe that was Monday, to tie the game against the Diamondbacks, the game the Yankees came back and won. And then last night, it was a 0-0 tie for New York. They're already out of the playoffs, so it really doesn't matter. But it was 0-0 in Toronto when Wells came to the plate.
So here's Wells. This guy's went deep to left field. Going back, Varsho still back, turning, looking, see ya! An opposite field 2-run home run for Austin Wells. And the Yankees lead 2-0.
Austin Wells with his second home run in as many games. His third in the last 5. And it gives the Yankees a 2-0 lead here in the 9th.
And those are his first 3 home runs in the big leagues for Austin Wells. It's been a bit of a struggle for him in the 16 games that he has played here in this September call-up. He's hitting just 190. But getting hot down the stretch.
And amazing mustache. Amazing mustache right now for Austin Wells.
He's got mustache game, but is his mustache better than Travis Kelce's?
I'm not a mustache judge. We'd have to get somebody on the phone.
Right.
No matter what, all of them are better than the Atlanta Falcons Ted Lasso group they got going on down there.
I haven't seen that. Is that taking over London this week? The mustaches from the Falcons?
Oh. I have
Bijan
no idea.
takes London. We're gonna have that game Sunday. We'll talk about that coming back after Christy gets you home every 20 minutes on the 5s with your traffic.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together. We have some slowing at Glen and Oracle. That's Oracle and Glen. I-10 westbound near Palo Verde and I-10 westbound as you approach Orange Grove in the construction zone. And we're also seeing quite a bit of slowing at Ina Road, westbound Ina Road, just east of Oracle Road. Also, a couple speed enforcement zones at Broadway and Wilmont and Speedway and Campbell. It is currently 103 degrees outside, sunny tonight, overnight low 68 degrees, and I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A. Copyright 2023.
David Kelly has taken the reins.
Jetfish is doing everything we asked him to do.
It's DK on the Sports Tip.
Kelly Bonds set the 100 hurdles record and then broke it 2 more times.
Driving you home weekdays at 3 on Wildcats Radio 1290.
The pandemic is over, but COVID-19 is here to stay.
In fact, it's still among the top 5 leading causes of death in the U.S., just after heart disease and cancer. So this fall, stay up to date with the latest COVID-19 vaccines, just like you do with the flu, because you've got no time for 19. The vaccine may not be for everyone. Please consult with your doctor. Brought to you by Moderna.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
There are many reasons you might need Dorado Rockin' Materials. A few bare spots in the yard, the driveway needs filling in, or it could be that the yard needs a whole makeover. Whatever the reason, if your yard has the summertime blues, Dorado Rockin' Materials has everything from sand to boulders and every rock and pebble in between. If you need help spreading it, we have options for that too. Call 400-4233. Dorado Rockin' Materials. The right service, the right product, the right price.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
This is good news, maybe exactly when you need it, too. Right now, switching to MediShare can save you even more than usual on top of what you'll save each month by becoming a member of MediShare. And so many people are looking for a healthcare solution right now, especially given how inflation is affecting us. MediShare is the affordable, reliable alternative to health insurance. The typical family saves about $500 a month. You might save even more. And MediShare is a Christian community that's been sharing each other's healthcare costs for 30 years now, and they're making it easier than ever. Apply by October 31st, and you could save an additional $150 on your first month. I'll give you the number here in a second. Just tell them the promo code SHARE to get your...
saying in a statement earlier in September that the university does not care about Tucker's rights. the truth, or its future liability for policing its employees' private lives. Spartans AD Alan Haller said that Tucker's responses provided a litany of excuses and did not refute or undermine the multiple grounds for his termination. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, there's a hashtag right now that is trending on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Thank you, Tito is trending throughout the social media world. I want to show you what was happening tonight in Cleveland, Ohio, my hometown, in what is likely the final game that Arizona Wildcats grad Terry Francona will manage, maybe in his career, we'll see, but all indications are that he will step away as the manager of the Cleveland Guardians at the end of the season. He was honored before tonight's final home game. A lot of tears in the house. Tito much loved throughout the game of baseball, and particularly in Northeast Ohio, where he took the Tribe to within one swing of the World Championship in 2016 against the Chicago Cubs.
He said, let's go, right? Yeah, I'm sure he wants the game to start, but they won't let it. And rightfully so.
You're watching this right now on our streaming platforms, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook Live. That is the crowd honoring Terry Francona before tonight's game in Cleveland, Ohio. Just a brilliant, I think 36 years in the game of baseball, 13 as a player, 23 as a manager, won 2 World Series in Boston. I read something this week that I don't know if I'd heard this particular story about Terry Francona. Arizona baseball class of 1980, I believe. And it was that ALCS against the Yankees, the famed ALCS with the Yankees, where the Yankees had a 3-0 lead, and they looked like they were about to sweep the Red Sox. And Tito looked over at Dave Roberts, who was sitting on the bench, and kind of winked at him and sent him in as a pinch runner in that Game 4. And David Roberts stole a base and ignited the rally that allowed them to come back and win Game 4. And then everyone knows what happened after that. They went on to win the next 3 games and became the first team in baseball history to overcome a 3-0 deficit to win a playoff series, on their way to winning the first of those 2 world championships
That was his
for the
first
Boston
year.
Red Sox.
That was his first year there, too.
Yeah.
As a manager.
Yeah. He had managed in Philadelphia with the Phillies, which had not gone all that well. And there was talk that he had gotten soured by the crazies of the city of brotherly love, who, they'll eat their own children there.
They throw snowballs at Santa.
Spent a lot of time there. Trust me, I know. And managed Michael Jordan in the Southern League back in 1994 when Michael Jordan decided that he wanted to play baseball. I remember I got to the Southern League the year after that as a broadcaster. My first year broadcasting in the Southern League was 95. Jordan played there in 94. But Tito was still the manager at Birmingham in 1995. So I can remember we went into Birmingham and I had a chance to interview him on one of my pregame shows. This was before he even got to the big leagues as a manager in the mid-90s. And is this the end of his career? He's had a lot of health issues, makes Tucson his home. And here's a little about what Tito said in a podcast earlier this week on MLB Network about what his future may hold.
How involved do you think you want to be when you're done managing? And if so, do you think it would be in a big-time role where you're calling the shots, or maybe just helping out in some kind of consultant role?
Well, CJ, I don't think I'm a second semester freshman from the University of Arizona, and that took me 3 years to get there. So I don't think that's probably something that's in my future. you know what I do want to do? I want to go home and see what I miss, and then try to figure out, okay, maybe this could make me happier. Maybe this could get my juices going. But we'll see. And I don't know what that's going to be. And I'm in no rush to force it either. I've just gotten to that point, and I think I'm pretty comfortable with where I've gotten in the decisions I've made, and we'll see what happens. But no, I don't think that's in my future.
A second semester freshman at the University of Arizona, and that took me 3 years. That's why people universally love Terry Francona throughout the game of Major League Baseball.
He jokes, but I know some people who are second semester freshmen after 3 years. So.
Wasn't there always, I don't know but was there at the University of Arizona, it seems like every campus has that guy that seems like he's just been on campus for like 8 years.
Having worked on University Boulevard during the 90s for like 7-8 years, I watched a lot of people who went to school there and then maybe financially or just their motivation wasn't there, but they stuck around campus. So they didn't go anywhere. They hung around campus, weren't students, but still were a part of that university campus experience.
520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. If you have encountered Terry Francona here in Tucson, I want to hear from you about that encounter. He is routinely at the University of Arizona men's basketball games. I know he's been honored at a football game or two in the past. I'm sure he'll be courtside again come November. He didn't attend a lot of games last year. I kept looking for him last year, but again, he's been dealing with a lot of health stuff, and he's going to have another surgery as soon as the season is over. I believe it's a shoulder surgery, and I think I think that's really what is at the emphasis of this decision to step away now. It's just another surgery, and the timeline between the end of baseball season and having to be ready to go again in February to manage another season. It's just too short a timeline for Terry right now. He had to miss time in the dugout in 2020 during the pandemic. He had to miss time in the dugout in 2021. And that's why I believe that if Francona can get himself healthy over the course of the next year, maybe he takes all of this season off. If he can get himself healthy again, I would not be surprised if Terry Francona comes back and manages again in the major leagues. In fact, I'd like to look. I'm going to look up and see exactly what his age is. He's not that old, so it's not like really this is an age thing. I think for Terry Francona.
64.
Yeah, exactly. 64. I think he could come if he gets healthy. I could see him coming back and maybe managing another team. I don't know if that team would be Cleveland or someone else. He had routinely said that the only team he really wanted to manage again was Cleveland when he went there. And if I'm sure if he decided in 2 years he wanted to come back and things weren't going well, I'm sure that the Guardians would take him back in a heartbeat.
I think that Tito's got a lot of accomplishments, to say the least, in the world of baseball as a manager. I think that right now, for Tito's sake, he's had a lot of difficulty staying in the dugout. That has been the one thing that's been very, very hard to watch, is that he's not been able to keep himself, healthy enough to be in the dugout, to make those decisions, to be in control on the day-to-day operations of the team. If he can go ahead and get himself 100% right, then maybe sometime down the road. But let's be honest, DK, about something else about baseball right now, too. The manager position is actually getting surprisingly younger compared to what we've seen in the past. We used to see a bunch of, old gray foxes in the dugout. You're talking about guys maybe in the 60s or 70s managing baseball teams. You're not looking at the Connie Mack era of managers where it's a great grandpa managing. You got a lot of guys that just got done playing. They're in their 40s, maybe late 30s potentially in some cases. So if Tito does come back, I'd be always open to seeing more Tito, but I think in the end there's going to be a change of the guard in regards to how teams want their baseball teams managed on a day-to-day basis.
25 years is enough, I think.
Oh, yeah.
25 years as a manager.
It's a great career.
Is enough.
It's a great career. It's a great career if that is the end of the line. And there are some bad people in Cleveland. I mean, somebody stole Terry Francona's scooter again. He said before the game today, he called it the Hog. It had gotten stolen, I believe, during the postseason a few years ago, and Cleveland police got it back for him. But apparently somebody stole it again. And before tonight's game, he said the hog has been officially put on ice. It got stolen one more time, but this time they stripped it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's a shame.
Cleveland, my hometown, Cleveland.
Cleveland rocks?
Not right now.
Now,
Cleveland sucks right now.
What would Sam Wyche say right now?
Don't bring Sam Wyche's name into this conversation. Do not bring Sam Wyche's name into this conversation. All right, 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Coming up, Mariah Cruz from Pima Athletics is going to join us. She is a cross-country runner for the Aztecs, and she has ascended to the collegiate level as an athlete, having come over a horrific burn incident that she suffered when she was 13 months old. So we will talk to Mariah about that and how she's been able to overcome that in her life to be able to run at the collegiate level. She is a graduate of Mountain View High School. Alma Gallardo is scheduled to join us from Tucson Bilingual. We hope to talk to her in the next hour. She was a part of an event yesterday down on the south side in which Arizona men's basketball and Tommy Lloyd gave out 1,000 tickets to Tucsonans living on the south side so that they could come to the Red Blue Showcase on Friday night. And speaking of the Red Blue Showcase, Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye spoke today about that. You'll hear from them some more as well. I asked them about what they learned here, what they picked up at the U of A that's allowed them both to become media stars post-NBA. They spoke about that, as well as the reports that the U of A men's basketball alumni base was not initially happy when Tommy Lloyd was hired as head coach. Richard Jefferson had some very pointed things to say about that, and you will hear that in the next hour as well. Getting you home, though, every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather on a Wednesday. Here's Christy.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather Together. We have a collision in the clearing stages at Twin Peaks Road and Silverbell Road. Also still seeing quite a bit of slowing for I-10 westbound as you approach Orange Grove in the construction zone. We also have quite a few speed enforcement zones in the area of 22nd and Swan, Ajo and 12th Avenue, Broadway and Wilmont, and Grant and Campbell. It is currently 102 degrees outside tonight, cloudy with a low of 68 degrees. I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather Together.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
scheduled for this week. Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson was back with the team after going through concussion protocol. And again, Panthers top pick Bryce Young was able to be back on the field after sitting out last week with an ankle injury. Still no guarantee that either of them will be returning under center this week. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, don't forget, we'll be live at Bear Down Fridays, Illegal Pete's on Fridays. J-Dub and I, the whole Wildcats promotions crew, will be on University Boulevard getting you set for the Wildcats and Washington at Arizona Stadium. Kickoff Saturday night will be 7 o'clock. We'll be out there Friday from 3 to 6. DK on the Sports Tip at Bear Down Fridays is brought to you by Corona, an official corporate sponsor of Arizona Athletics. All right, let's talk. We mentioned cross country earlier in our conversation with Andy Morales from All Sports Tucson. Let's talk some distance running. We're going to go up onto West Anklam Road to Pima College and welcome in our next guest. Her name is Mariah Cruz. She is a cross country runner for the Pima Aztecs in her freshman year out of Mountain View High School, and she has gotten to the collegiate level, overcoming a serious medical injury that she suffered when she was a baby. Mariah, tell the folks what happened to you when you were 13 months old.
Hi, so when I was 13 months old, I was burned severely, 34-degree burns by water, and so I had to get rushed to the hospital, and, you know, it was pretty bad. I almost had my feet amputated, but thankfully, you know, I was able to get past that, and it kind of followed me along throughout my life, and now I'm here, and I'm running, and I love running, so...
So how many surgeries have you had to have as a result of this incident when you were a child?
So before 5 years old, I've had a couple just because I'm growing and stuff. So when I first got burned, there was a couple of skin grafts and skin debridement surgeries I've had to do. And then later on, I did skin graft surgeries when I was about 4 or 5 years old just because I was growing. And I just had one this last October, November, for a C-plasty skin graft and foot reconstruction.
So when did you start running?
I started running when I was third grade, but I started running distance when I was in middle school.
Wow. And Mariah Cruz joining us. She's a distance runner for Pima College. What kind of made you fall in love with that sport?
Everything about the sport is just, it makes me feel complete. I love the feeling after my run of feeling fulfilled, and during my run, it helps me to clear my thoughts, and it gets me mentally strong as well as physically strong. And all in all, it's a reward for me.
So now, when you began running, competitively, were there ever any concerns from your family, your doctors, about the effect that might have on your feet at all?
Yeah, my parents have always been worried, They want me to make sure I'm okay. I'm on 100. I always reassure them that I'm okay, and I kept running. It was my passion. My dad's my biggest supporter. He kept pushing me as well as making sure that I'm okay. So I've always had the support that I've needed to make sure that I'd be okay.
Now, did you win races in when you were in high school in Mountain View?
Yeah, throughout my whole senior year of cross country, I medaled all my invitational meets and even medaled some of my track meets as well.
Wow. And you mentioned that you had a surgery last November, and this was to correct a big toe. So what was that situation, and was that affecting you? Is that something that you kind of realized that there was something wrong there as you started running more competitively?
Yeah, so my goal for senior year was to run as fast and as hard as I can. I didn't know that I was going to be running in college just yet. And because of the way that my skin had scarred, it didn't allow my toe to, stretch the way that it needed to. So this surgery helped to correct that. And while I was running my senior year, that's when I realized I was, feeling pain. I was uncomfortable. I had to move a certain way, step a certain way, or I just push away some feelings, and once I got the offer for Pima, that's when I made the decision to get the surgery so that I'd be okay to run my freshman year of college.
So now you had the surgery last November, and when did you resume running, and what was that feeling like when you finally got a chance to get back out there?
So I resumed running about a month and a half after my surgery.
Oh, wow.
I was told it would be a 3 to 6 month recovery, but somehow, some miracle just helped me to get done in just, a fraction of that time. And, even during the healing process, I was trying to go. I was doing as much as I can. I was trying to walk as fast as I can, get as strong again. And when I finally got cleared the day before preseason for track, I was just so excited. I didn't know if I was going to run that season. So finding out that I would be able to get back on the track was one of the best news that I've heard in those months. It was really exciting.
Mariah Cruz from Pima College is joining us. She is a freshman runner on the cross-country team. She overcame a serious burn accident when she was 13 months old and has had a number of surgeries since then to correct skin as well as a toe situation. So you didn't actually know until, I guess, the school just started so recently, like within the last month or so, whether or not you were going to be able to compete this year?
No, so last year during about October, November, I didn't know if I would have a senior year high school track season.
Oh, I see. You mean for track in the spring, a high school track in the spring you were talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
And if I were to, if I did get that 6-month-long recovery that they said, I was nervous for how my season would be right now as well.
So you guys are in your collegiate season, first collegiate season. You got the ACCAC Conference Championships coming up this Saturday. How are you feeling going into that first big championship meet of your college career?
I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling excited. It's going to be my first 5K of the season, so I can't wait to see how I go out. All I'm feeling is positive vibes and thoughts, and I'm just excited for whatever's to come.
Now, do you like to go and just run like races outside of like the collegiate scene? I know we have just tons of races throughout the state of Arizona, various, the half or what they call them, half marathons and have you ever run a full marathon or anything like that?
No, I haven't trained for the full marathon yet. I do want to do that once I'm out of the my 2 years, see whatever gets to me. I know it takes some training, so that is something that I do want to do in the future. I feel like that'd be an awesome thing to do.
Mariah Cruz joining us, Pima College athletics, distance runner, and burn survivor. What do you want folks to know about the perseverance that it takes to overcome what you've overcome?
Things are always going to bring you down, but you can either let it control you or you can get past it and do something with it. I turned something negative into something so positive. I've inspired a lot of people in the burn community, and it's just having those people reach out to you really, really helps you to keep going and persevering. And, I want to keep doing what I'm doing and showing people that, reach for the stars, and if you got a goal, just chase after it. So that's what I want to share.
What are you studying in your first months of college, and what do you want to do with that?
So I'm studying psychology. I want to eventually become a therapist, and work with the Arizona Burn Foundation, be that person for other burn survivors to be referred to, so I could be that person I wish I had growing up.
So tell us a little bit about the Arizona Burn Foundation, what that's all about, and some of the people that are involved with that have been instrumental in your success.
Yeah, so the Arizona Burn Foundation has done so much for me. It's an organization in Arizona for all the burn victims, and every year they host a camp for a week straight. Firefighters and nurses and anybody, they just volunteer a week of their time and, have us kids just have a great week. No worries. We have a bunch of, sponsors. We have a motorcycle group that comes, and, the kids get really happy. They let us take pictures on their bikes, and it's a great retreat. We can ride horses, we can go kayaking. It's just so fun. The Arizona Burn Foundation also helps those who are going to go to college. They offer scholarships for burn survivors, and one time they paid for my contacts because I didn't have glasses, and so they're always there. They have resources for people to talk if you need somebody to talk to, and they're just such a great support system and a great organization overall.
Mariah Cruz is our guest from Pima College. She is a runner on the cross-country team. So you'll run track as well there in the spring, long distance?
Oh, yeah. I'm planning to do the 10K, and, I do want to try out the steeplechase. Whatever the coaches need me, I'll be doing. So I'm excited.
Steeplechase. That's one of the more interesting events, I think, at any track in the field meet. So would that be an issue? Like, because you get your feet wet on that one, would that be an issue for you at all to have to be able to run with wet shoes?
No, I don't think so. I've run in rain before. It just gets a little cold, but at this point, nothing can stop me. I just keep going. Running the rain is actually pretty fun, and I'm actually really excited to at least try it once.
Have you had a chance, you mentioned working with the Arizona Burn Foundation, have you had a chance to impact any kids maybe younger than you that have gone through a burn situation and they might be shy about, maybe how their skin looks or anything like that? Have you had a chance to kind of talk to any younger kids about that?
Yeah, I've had chances at camp, and I'm actually having some, opportunities in these next couple months at camps. We do have these groups where the girls and the guys will split up, and we can just talk. If anybody needs help, you guys can just talk to each other. And we have a closing ceremony, and that's when I first decided to speak out about my story. And I've had, people of all ages. I had kids come up to me. I've had adults. I've had elders come up to me just thanking me for sharing and saying how inspiring it was. And now that I'm 18, I have more doors open for me to actually be a spokesperson, share my story, and help get the Arizona Burn Foundation's name out there. So I'm really happy about that. I'm thankful for it too.
All right, how many races have you run going into the ACC conference meet this weekend?
So for my season, I've only ran one other race. It was in Flagstaff. It was a really fun race. It rained on us a little bit. So this next race is going to be my second one. That's why I'm so excited. I love the energy the first one brought. And so after that, I got another one next weekend. Then we get California. And we got regionals, and then we got nationals in Alabama.
All right, so you finished 9th in Flagstaff, 17 minutes, 40 seconds. What's the goal time for this Saturday?
I want to get below 20:30. I know that I can do it. My goal for the season is to get a sub-19, which I think I can do. Okay. So we'll see where this race takes me. That's why I'm so excited, because I want to just give it all that I got. Because I've gone stronger these last few weeks, these last few months. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Well, Mariah, continued success, and we really appreciate you telling your story today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story and taking time out of your day.
Mariah Cruz, freshman distance runner at Pima College, overcame a burn accident at 13 months old to become an athlete on the collegiate level. See, you can do anything you want to do. Don't let nobody stop you. All right, we've got much more coming up for you in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll get back into the Red Blue Showcase. This is David Kelly. You're listening to DK on the Sports Tip, and you are on Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. We have a couple new collisions, Wilmont and 22nd Street, Thornydale Road and Linda Vista Boulevard, and also Harrison Road and Golf Links Road. And we're still seeing quite a bit of slowing on I-10 westbound as you approach Orange Grove in the construction zone. And we have a couple speed enforcement zones in the area of Grant and Campbell, Broadway and Wilmont, Ajo and 12th Avenue, and 22nd Street and Swan. Tonight's overnight low 68 degrees, and it's currently 102 out. And I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's knows.
sports.
The Arizona defense will have their hands full on Saturday, as Coach Johnny Nansen knows, and he said that the team will have to go ahead and win their one-on-one battles throughout that game if they want to beat Washington, as the UW offense does not just go with one look on the offensive side of the ball.
A lot. They do a lot of. There's unbalanced, there's quads, there's empty, and they motion, they shift. So those are the things that we worry more than anything else, how we're going to adjust to it and make sure we don't blow our assignments. We get 20 hours. That's the thing about college football. And there's a lot of offense we got to defend. So we got to do a really good job. Our staff's done a great job, passing the assignments over to the plays, and then obviously they got to execute.
Arizona still sits at an 18.5-point underdog in that contest. College football will be shelving their discussions about expanding to a 12-team format for their postseason, as the management committee instead opted to go ahead and wait to see what the future of the Pac-12 conference will look like, according to the college football president and executive director, Bill Hancock. Again, only Oregon State and Washington State are currently listed as the two teams that will be in the conference in 2024, depending on their decisions. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Live from the CNWT.
Wait, what's the CNWT? Central Northwest Tucson. Duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip with your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
David Amata.
Hey, that's Dragon Ball to you.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now, a man who has not one, but three first names, David Scott Kelly.
Final hour of the program today on a Hump Day Wednesday. Lots going on. D-backs win in Chicago. Their magic number is 3. DeAndre Ayton on his way out of the desert, being traded to the Portland Trailblazers in a 3-team deal that's going to send Baby Dame Dollar to Portland. Did you like those songs and that whole skit that they did with the miniature deal?
I'm not a big fan of the SoundCloud rapper per se. As a Steeler fan, I've already got an issue with SoundCloud rappers because of my old running back Le'Veon Bell as it was. But Dame has never been to me someone that I'm sure he's got good flow. It's just I don't care to listen to anything coming off of SoundCloud. That's just me. Although apparently he seemed to be ready for his departure because he already released a farewell song on Twitter for that. So,
of course, it's got to be a song, right?
It's got to have an exit song. Got to have your exit song.
Your exit song from Portland, Oregon.
Portland known for their rap music.
How many words can you think of right now that rhyme with Wisconsin and cheese?
Cheese. What about did he find words that did?
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking
Wisconsin
for his sake.
And cheese. Paul in Phoenix checks in. DeAndre Ayton is simply going back to the state where he had his best college basketball game.
This is true.
Good luck, DeAndre. I personally will not miss you. That's Paul in Phoenix, bringing it as always. All right, DeAndre will not be at the Red Blue game tomorrow. Probably not. Maybe he will make one more appearance before he decides to go up to Portland. Let's talk to Alma Gallardo right now. Alma is with the newspaper publication and magazine Arizona Bilingual, and they put on a spectacular event yesterday to allow people living on the South Side to get tickets to the Red Blue Showcase. Alma, good afternoon to you. Tell us a little bit about this event. I believe this is the second year that you all have done this in conjunction with Arizona and men's basketball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Hi, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good, Alma.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and your audience.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about the event. This was the second year you guys have done this, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, this is the second year that we're collaborating with the Arizona Athletics Department at U of A and Coach Tommy Loy and his team. And obviously the basketball team, they were there yesterday. We had a blast, let me tell you. I think it was even better than first year.
That is awesome. So I would imagine, were there a lot of youngsters there that got a chance to meet some of the players?
Oh, yes. We have hundreds of pictures and videos that we can share. It was like the faces of the kids and children and students from different schools in Tucson. I mean, Coach Lloyd and the players, they speak with a lot of people, and they had the opportunity to sign basketball balls and a lot of different things. And they were eating Sonoran hot dogs and coffee and a lot of different things. We have entertainment as well. It was amazing, and I think this event can get bigger and bigger. And Coach Lloyd has a dream. He shared with us, and we're gonna make it happen next year.
Oh, well, tell us about that dream. Can you tell us a little bit about what he said?
Well, yes, he wants to do this event bigger and bigger, and he wants to collaborate with South Tucson in the city of Tucson. I mean, in the areas with the school districts, and have the opportunity to show the potential that everybody has. The U of A athletics department, and maybe next year we can have a little bit of a demonstration from the basketball players. So we're thinking in doing something different.
So 1,000, you guys gave out 1,000 tickets to the event on Friday. Is that correct?
We gave 1,000 tickets. That's exactly the amount of tickets that they provide to us. Thank you to the athletic department and Humberto Lopez from HSL Properties. We couldn't have done. We did it yesterday as well.
Alma Gallardo joining us, Arizona Bilingual. She just mentioned in conjunction with Humberto Lopez from HSL Properties, they had an event with Arizona men's basketball. 1,000 tickets given out to families on the south side for the Red Blue Showcase. How many? I mean, obviously, how many of those kids do you think will be going into that arena for the first time on Friday night?
Well, let me tell you that a lot of them. I don't think a lot of the kids and families, they have had the opportunity to be at the McHale Center before, maybe because they think it's so expensive, or maybe because the season is already sold out. A lot of different things happen, and sometimes those people, they don't ask. Maybe they are tickets available, and people, they don't know because they don't ask. So when we had this opportunity since last year, we wanted to share this opportunity with a lot of different areas, school districts and families in the community. And next year, I mentioned it to Coach Lloyd and his team that we wanted to start this promotion with 3 months in advance.
Oh, wow.
Because we want more people to have the opportunity to get tickets,
Yeah. So how did this all come together again last year in terms of who dreamed up this idea? Was that something that you and Humberto kind of came up with together?
Yes. Yes. That's how it was. We met at the offices of Humberto Lopez last year, and we started with Coach Lloyd and his team. And I think they talked before, and they had that dream, and Humberto and Coach Lloyd, they wanted to do something and give back to the Hispanic community or the community on South Side, and that's why we made it.
Tell us a little bit about Arizona Bilingual and what your publication is all about.
Well, our publication has been 20 years in the market. We cover all Tucson areas, Pima County, Southern Arizona, and Northern Sonora, Mexico. We print 25,000 copies per month, and we are very strong on social media every single day on a daily basis. With our publication in digital and social media, we reach up to 150,000 readers, and we are in a lot of events and community events, and we try to give back to the community as much as we can. And we know that we are bilingual because there's a big need at our communities to explain everything that is happening, the resources, and a lot of different things that happens in the community. People, they should know it in Spanish and English. That's why we wanted to continue doing the Arizona Bilingual in both languages.
And what events do you guys have coming up before the end of the year? You have anything really good that folks should know about?
Yes, we have the Cancer Walk on October 29. We have Latinas Arizona, which is another entity that we have. We try to learn and educate Hispanic business owners with a lot of workshops in Spanish on October 19. We have 2 events of Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving Festival on November 18, and the Giving Community event on November 21st. We try to give up to 1,000 turkeys and 500 gift cards in both events for Thanksgiving dinner.
That is awesome. Hey, I appreciate you taking some time to join us. Again, a great event out there on Tuesday to allow 1,000 families from South Tucson to have a chance to go to the Red Blue game on Friday night. Will you be there yourself? You going down there?
Yes, my team and I will be there tomorrow.
Outstanding. Alma, best of luck with Arizona Bilingual. We look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you very much. Hope you can join us next year.
Absolutely. Alma Gallardo. She's with the Arizona Bilingual, along with HSL Properties and Humberto Lopez. They had a great event on the South Side Tuesday, handing out 1,000 tickets to the Red Blue game. And J-Dub, just like you talked about, this really is Tucson's event. It's a chance for people that don't normally get to go to the McHale Center. It allows them to have a chance to come out to the McHale Center and see this team that everyone in Southern Arizona loves. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program today. If you want to talk about any of the number of the things that we have gone over, coming up, we are going to let you hear from Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson. We'll let you hear more of what they had to say today on a couple of different subjects. We'll let you hear from them on the Tommy Lloyd situation there and the rumblings that the basketball alums were not happy when Tommy Lloyd got hired. Richard Jefferson will break that down for you and break it down pretty succinctly. We'll hear from him and Channing on that. And also, I asked the two of them just kind of what they picked up at the U of A, from the U of A during their time that's allowed them to kind of ascend to the mega stars that they are. In fact, very interestingly enough, we had a chance to talk to Richard and Channing this morning, and then the trade came down, I think it was literally about maybe 5-10 minutes after we got off of the call with them. And then Channing's right back there on ESPN, Richard was back on ESPN, giving his thoughts and breakdown of this big day in the NBA that has seen DeAndre Ayton traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Portland Trailblazers, and Damian Lillard, Baby Dame Dollar, sent from the Portland Trailblazers to the Milwaukee Bucks to team with Giannis Antetokounmpo. So
Dame time.
Yeah. What's it called? Dame time?
Dame time.
Dame time. Is that his nick? Is that another one of his nicknames?
Because he always points
it's
at
his original nickname. Yeah.
Okay.
I will tell you this:
Dame
Richard
time.
Jefferson has a unique perspective because he grew up in Phoenix. So did DeAndre Ayton. He came to the University of Arizona, just like DeAndre Ayton. He understands a little bit about what that guy's going through, obviously, as an NBA player. So no doubt that coming right out of that Zoom and jumping right onto ESPN and giving his 2 cents probably wasn't too difficult for him.
No, and it was interesting to hear Channing and Richard both talk about being from Arizona.
Yeah.
And watching the Red Blue game and kind of seeing the impact that it makes, and that and how 15,000 people are going to come out for, again, what essentially is a practice, and how I think it was Richard told the one story about how Lute actually would tell guys that jobs were on the line.
Well, yeah, I mean,
in the Red Blue game,
when they didn't have defined starters, but when they had their top 7 guys returning, it was just don't get hurt.
Yeah.
I loved it how close he's talking about Bibby, he's talking about Bayless, because obviously both Channing and RJ are both from the Phoenix area. It was great them talking about how tight all those Phoenix natives who came down to the U of A to play basketball are over the years.
Great to see that there's high-level high school basketball here in the state of Arizona, and that the kids like that are staying home and playing here. We mentioned Dylan Anderson on the current squad was a high school star up in the Valley here in the state, and now has an opportunity to potentially write a nice name for himself if he can find his way onto the floor this year and get an opportunity to really play in that Arizona jersey. All right, getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives. One more time with your traffic and weather in this half hour. Here's Christy.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together. We have a report of a collision on I-10 near Pinal Air Park Road involving a motorcycle. Also a collision on Valencia and 12th Avenue, Linda Vista and Thornydale, and Wilmot and 22nd Street. You can use Broadway or Craycroft instead. And we're still seeing quite a bit of slowing on Ina Road westbound near 1st Avenue. It is cooling off to 102 degrees currently, and overnight low of 68 degrees. And I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather Together.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. As the leaves...
1290. 2020 Sports.
The team's depth at pitching will be.
Former Arizona Wildcat will be potentially active during this upcoming weekend for the NFL action as ex-U of A defensive lineman Roy Lopez was elevated to the Arizona Cardinals active roster just days after being brought on board as a practice squad member. Lopez had started 20 games the previous 2 seasons with the Houston Texans after going in the 6th round in the 2021 draft, and now the Tempe native has a chance to go ahead and play for the Cardinals this weekend. Well, the Diamondbacks stay alive in a wild card race with the second straight win over the White Sox as Arizona got away with a big 3rd inning to collect the only 3 runs they needed to come out with the win.
And Corbin finds a gap. Here we go. Peterson's going to come around and score. Let's see how fast Perdomo can run. Here comes Geraldo. Corbin Carroll with a 2-run double. Tommy swings 3-0 and lines it right by Sosa at third. Corbin scores. RBI single for Tommy Pham in a 3-0 D-backs lead.
The shutout victory keeps Arizona in second place in the wild card race.
The team's depth at pitching will be tested after they went ahead and designated Zach Davies for assignment.
That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, let's take a look at what is happening around baseball right now. The Diamondbacks win. Their magic number is 3. So the teams, again, that are right now behind the Diamondbacks are the Cubs, the Marlins, and the Reds. Those are the 3 teams that are currently involved in this National League wild card race, with the Cubs holding the 3rd position at the moment. So let's update you on what's happening right now. The Guardians in the middle of the 8th are beating the Reds by a score of 4-3. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's the final home game, likely the final home game for Guardians manager Terry Francona, U of A baseball class of 1980, as he is expected to step away from that position at the end of the season on Monday. The Marlins and the Mets are playing a doubleheader. Game 1 goes to the Mets by a score of 11-2. So they will play a second game there coming up tonight in New York City. The other game involves the Cubs, and that game is in the 4th, with the Cubs leading by a score of 3-1. So really, it's the Marlins. That loss for them is big because that takes them down now 2 games behind the Diamondbacks with 4 games to play. And the Cubs, obviously, if they were to win, would be a game up now on the Marlins. And if the Reds lose, they would probably be out in terms of the Diamond. That would at least eliminate them from having a chance to catch the Diamondbacks. They'll be in the mix for that 3rd spot.
That would put them at 78 losses if they were to lose, and the Diamondbacks with 4 games left have 74 losses.
Right, exactly. And they, now again, you don't want to tie the Reds because the Reds have a tiebreaker against you. But the only team that the Wildcats have, or the Diamondbacks have the tiebreaker for, is the Chicago Cubs. So in a good position with a win, magic number down to 3. We'll see if anything happens there tonight. All right, we are at 5:25, and we haven't even gotten into our questions of the day. Our question of the day today, nor have we wrapped up our question of the day from the last 2 days. So that's called Let's Do Some Laundry here. All right, so question of the day for today is around the Arizona and Washington rivalry. We've been taking these memories for you over the course of this season. It's the final season of the Pac-12. Last week we talked about memorable games in the Arizona-Stanford rivalry. So this week we want to talk about memorable games in the Arizona-Washington rivalry. So we settled on 3, but feel free to bring another game to the table that I don't have listed here. If you head over to Wildcats 1290, our Twitter page, Wildcats 1290, which of these memories of Arizona versus Washington, the football rivalry, is your favorite? And I'm giving you 3. The 1992 upset of the number 1 Huskies. This one is probably the most memorable one to me because it's the only one I saw. Casey Skowron in 2014, the kicker, scoring on the fake field goal early in the game and then kicking the game-winning field goal as time expired. That was the last game in which the Wildcats beat the Huskies. The Huskies have won the last 6 games in this series. So that was the last time Arizona beat Washington, and that was here on the Casey Skowron touchdown and field goal to win. And then the other game is the Leap by the Lake. Of course, the famed Leap by the Lake, the iconic Ortez Jenkins touchdown run in Seattle. So two of those are memories.
This one?
Let's see how many Huskies come dogging the cat from Arizona. Just the 4. Jenkins steps up. He goes! He dives! He's in!
That was one of the most phenomenal plays you'll see in college football. I give him a 10 across the board, Steve.
He does a complete flip into the end zone. And if he doesn't land on his feet, Arizona is turned back.
I have never seen something like that.
Unbelievable. One of the iconic. there are really just. I mean, when you talk about iconic plays in Arizona football history, that is one of them. That is probably in the top 3. Chuck Cecil's interception return against the Sun Devils is probably number 1. That play there is by most accounts probably number 2, if not number 3.
And that was the season as a whole, right? Makes that moment so much more
because
important.
Chris McAllister got suspended for that game, so he wasn't even on the trip. There's the famed story that he showed up at the airport to meet the team. He was crying because his guys went up there and won the game without him, and he was so happy, crying happy tears because they were able to pull off that come from behind win. So those are the 3 right now. How about this? Right now we're even 44% Leap by the Lake, 44% 92 upset of number 1, 13% Skowron touchdown for the field goal. We'll let you hear the calls on that because it's interesting. I've never heard the call of Brian Jeffries. I've never heard the Brian Jeffries call of the Leap by the Lake. I don't even know if it exists anywhere. But we'll play for you tomorrow the Brian's call of the Skowron field goal or touchdown and field goal because we do have those. So we'll play those for you tomorrow. And then I left a blank for other. So if there's another game, I think Gary Costin, the great kicker from the late 80s, had a game-winning field goal in one of those years against the Washington Huskies. He may have actually beaten them, I think, 2 years in a row with game-winning field goals in the 80s. So,
I was a junior in high school during the number 1 upset, and they crushed Washington that day. They were not in that game. And then I was a second-year freshman in college during the 98 win in Washington.
And you know what's interesting about that 92 game? They had the prior 2 years, Washington had blown them out.
Oh, yeah.
54-0.
That was the height.
And 54-10.
That was the height of the Huskies. They were really, really good back then.
And think about that. One year a team scores 54 on you. The next year you hold them to 3. And they're number 1 in the country, and you beat them. I mean, that's what Arizona football was in the early 90s. So those are your 3 choices right there. If there's another choice, leave us a note of a game that you thought was deserving or a game that is memorable to you. You can head on over there right now and do that. All right, quickly, let's wrap up. So 2 days ago, we had this one. Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's celebrity at this stage of his NFL career has it eclipsed that of U of A legend Rob Gronkowski at the height of his pro football run. Overwhelmingly, 82% said no. Bear down Robbie G. Only 17 or 18% saying yes, Trav and Tay. An interesting thing, I went back and I looked at this. In terms of Twitter followers, I wanted, because apparently there's been an explosion of social love for Travis Kelce, obviously, in the last 72 hours since Taylor Swift showed up at the game on Sunday. But Rob Gronkowski still has 3.1 million followers to Travis Kelce's 990,000.
I'm telling you, a lot of it has to do with them putting some rules in place for celebrations in the end zone 3 years before Gronk got into the NFL. So Gronk with the famous, first of all, he scored 38 touchdowns in his first 3 years. That's why he got famous. But for the casual, maybe not glued to the TV every Sunday, DK, those people really loved the fact that he wound up so big on those spikes because that was allowed. And so at the time when Gronk was in his first, second, and third year, when he really became the Gronkowski, he was celebrating in the end zone in a time when nobody was allowed to celebrate in the end zone because I think it was 2006 is when they passed those 15-yard penalty rules against celebrations, excessive celebrations.
And destroyed those footballs. I mean, there was. I don't know if there's ever been anybody that has spiked the ball like Gronkowski. I mean, he absolutely destroyed that ball when he would spike it.
He just had a genuine love, right? Like he just had that. He felt like he was really enjoying himself, and I think that's contagious.
Oh yeah. All right. So yesterday's question of the day: if you were Jedd Fisch in U of A and you win the toss, do you elect to receive or defer the decision to the second half? 91% are deferring to the second half. 91%.
Well, like I said, in the second half, you know what your offensive game plan needs to be. If you're down by 10, okay, let's open up the passing game a little bit. We're down by 3, okay, let's keep it in between. We need to go ahead and keep the defense honest, and this game is still close. We don't want to run the risk of a major mistake. If you're up by 10, we are going to hand the ball off, and it is up to you guys. And when I say you guys, I mean I'm looking at the big uglies if I'm the coach. It's up to you guys to put your foot on this game and really have us run the ball and take the clock away from these guys. They don't get to smell this lead ever.
Put your foot on their neck.
Got to go for the jugular.
Is what we like to say. Put your foot on their neck.
As Coach Cowher once said, now you go for the jugular.
Coach Cowher. Okay.
I don't think you're allowed to quote Coach Cowher. In this.
Yeah,
not in here, but
I don't think so either. I definitely don't want to hear
I'm not allowed to talk about
Cowher.
Sam Weish or Coach Cowher.
Well, yeah, no. Neither one of those guys. Neither one of those guys. All right, 520-848-1290 is the number to get on the program if you want to weigh in on any of those questions of the day and never got a chance to. Taking the ball or deferring, Travis Kelce over Robert Gronkowski over Travis Kelce, or your favorite memory of this Washington, Arizona. And then there was the memory. Remember the game they lost where I think it was Nick Foles was the quarterback, and the ball went off the guy's foot, like he threw it and it hit the guy in the foot, and down by the goal line. It was an interception, and Washington returned it for a touchdown. I believe that might have been like 2000.
I do. That was in
9 or
Seattle.
10.
That was up there, right?
Yeah, that was in Seattle.
Yeah, I remember that because
Yeah,
I remember
that
that
was
call and thinking that's some Homer type stuff. Felt like definitely should have gone Arizona's way, but did not.
No, he did not. That was another classic game in the Washington Arizona rivalry that will end as we know it this Saturday at the stadium. One last chance for the Cats to get the best of the Dogs. All right, more Channing and Richard. I promise. More Channing and Richard coming up for you in the next segment. But we want to make sure we get you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather. Here's Christy.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, this is Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together. We have a report of a collision on I-10 near Pinal Air Park Road involving a motorcycle. Also a collision on Valencia and 12th Avenue, Linda Vista and Thornydale, and Wilmot and 22nd Street. You can use Broadway or Craycroft instead. And we're still seeing quite a bit of slowing on Ina Road westbound near 1st Avenue. It is cooling off to 102 degrees currently, an overnight low of 68 degrees. And I'm Christy with Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored.
2020 Sports.
Well, we have a starting date for Arizona men's basketball contest against Duke this upcoming season. The tip-off has been officially listed as a 5 p.m. Arizona time tip for November 10th. And again, that game will be carried on ESPN2, so be sure to mark your calendars appropriately for that game, as well as this Friday's Red and Blue Showcase at the McHale Center, which still has tickets available at ArizonaWildcats.com. Michigan State has officially completed the process to fire Mel Tucker for cause after his recent investigation led by the university for sexual harassment. Tucker has continued to push back along with his attorney, saying in a statement earlier in September that the university does not care about Tucker's rights, the truth, or its future liability for policing its employees' private lives. Spartans AD Alan Haller said that Tucker's responses provided a litany of excuses and did not refute or undermine the multiple grounds for his termination. That's your 2020 Sports Update. We'll have more for you here on Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Tonight in Tucson, volleyball up on West Anklam Road, Arizona. The Pima Aztecs will take on South Mountain. That is a 7 o'clock first serve up there at the West Gymnasium. The ladies are 3-3 in conference play, 7-9 overall. They've lost a couple in a row by way of sweep to Mesa and Scottsdale, so looking to get off the schneid tonight against South Mountain at 7 o'clock. Going to try to scoot up there and catch a little bit of that game this evening, and we'll tell you a little bit about what happened on that tomorrow. All right, want to get back to Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson, who spoke today. The Road Tripping Podcast is coming to Tucson for the Red Blue Showcase on Friday. And one of the things the one question I got in and was able to ask was really about their transition out when they were here at the U of A. Oh, okay. So I'm told by J-Dub that we have the question. So we'll just go to the tape and you can hear the question that I asked them.
Hey, for both of you guys, thanks for doing this. Is there things that you can point to about your experience here at the U of A that have kind of helped you both kind of carve out the media careers that you have?
No, I would say this, that every group is different. I think the Lute Olson group of guys, I think the Sean Miller, and then obviously Coach Lloyd, like each group is different. Our group was a very social group. It was just a very social group. And if you think about colleges, the group that recruits the next group, recruits the next group, recruits the next group. So it's all kind of like-minded guys. So when you look at Steve Kerr, and there you got Andre Iguodala, who's in that. Luke Walton's also a coach. Channing and I are in the entertainment space. Sean Elliott does a ton of stuff. Gilbert Arenas, while I would not suggest digesting his content, yes, he's in the entertainment space. So when you look at that group and that era, there's a lot of guys that have entered into coaching, entered into entertainment, because that was what was going on in our locker rooms over those eras, especially the Lute Olson one. So that's the one thing that I would say is that collectively as a group, it was a lot of talking about basketball. So you see guys going into coaching. There was a lot of talking about basketball. So you see guys going into TVs. That's the culture that was going on inside the locker room when we were there. So from that aspect, yes, being in those environments put us in a space to go talk about basketball, because we're around so many high-level, intelligent people that just want to discuss basketball. If you're around Andre Iguodala, if you're around Gilbert, if you're around Luke, if you're having dinner, the only thing you're talking about is basketball and just all the shit. And so that from that space, being in that culture helps.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on that, I think we were just taught basketball, not as individuals, but as to see the game as it is, right? So each one of us had an individual job and had to understand the game and how to be good at it. And what that did was it allowed us to see the game from a fan's perspective, but also as an NBA player's perspective, right? Or those kind of guys. So for me, if you really look at everyone, we're just students of the game. And so the way we talk about it is easy. It translates. Like Steve Kerr was doing TV before he was a coach. Sean Elliott's been doing TV for a long time. I forgot who's been doing radio for the Warriors for 30 years.
Tom Tolbert.
Right? Yeah, Tom Tolbert, right? You look at all those players, and then you look at like Brillmeyer or Brazzi or Luke or all these other guys, obviously Steve, who are coaches now. We just, Damon Stoudemire, Josh, Jack, like all those guys. Everyone just learns the game the right way. And so we just want to give back. And I think if we didn't have such a great time at U of A, really appreciate the opportunity, I don't think we'd be as committed to the game of basketball as we are.
Channing would be the world's tallest accountant if he didn't go to Arizona.
I have a math disability, so no, I would not. And I'm sticking by that.
Okay, you would have been the janitor at the accounting place.
I have back problems, which I can't be sweeping. Plus, I have soft hands. It's good for shooting.
And you wonder why these two guys are in the entertainment space. I haven't digested any of Gilbert's content, but I have either of you.
Manic. I would call it manic if you wanted to put a word on it.
It's got a lot of back and forth.
I love Gilbert Arenas, and I think Gilbert Arenas is one of the most driven players to ever play at the U of A. He definitely has some insights. It's fun to see him on he has a podcast he's done forever. I think he was one of the first guys to do it. It's fun to have him on with younger players, DK, because he kind of takes a different role. We're used to kind of that clown Gil type of attitude, but when he gets on with some guys who are in their early 20s and he's coming from that veteran wisdom, I don't know. I mean, I know he was a Kobe guy. I don't know, after, Kobe passed, maybe Gilbert kind of changed his mindset. I mean, he's still Gilbert Arenas. He's still that same dude. I wanted to come really quick. I love how Channing Frye there said the reason that these guys transition pretty smoothly into the entertainment portion, as they said, of the NBA, that he might as well have just been describing why Lute Olson's teams were so good. Because you're talking about a bunch of guys who all love studying the game of basketball, and the teaching and coaching went on during the week. You could talk to Kelvin, talk to anybody during that era. They'll tell you the same thing. When the game was underway, he trusted that those guys who were in the rotation knew where they were supposed to be, knew what their assignments were, DK. And so the idea of having so many basketball-centered minds and how all those guys, when they hang out off the court, they're just straight talking basketball, it just makes sense because that is such a key to their successes during that late 80s to late 90s run.
And a very impressive amount of maturity from that group as well. I mean, I know that, again, we talk about Richard Jefferson and Gilbert Arenas chiding each other back and forth, but think about what those guys ended up doing when they got to the professional world of basketball in the NBA. Richard Jefferson was one of the more impressive athletes to ever play at the University of Arizona, but he didn't ever come to a point in his NBA career where he said, I've got to be the guy. I've got to be the one with the ball. It's like, no, I'm going to play my game, and I'm going to go ahead and play off of somebody else who's going to enhance my game something better. Same thing with Jed Bushler. Same thing with, Tolbert. Same thing with Andre Iguodala, who, for all intents and purposes, you can view him as one of the premier vet guys that you can think of for a glue veteran leader on a couple of different core groups in NBA history. So these guys were all very mature. They joke around a lot, but they know basketball, and they're able to address it as adults, even at a young point in their careers.
RJ had the luxury of coming into the league and playing with a prime Vince Carter and a prime Jason Kidd. So I'm just saying, he didn't have to be the guy when you're playing on a team with those two guys.
All right, I want to get to this last part real quick here because we're running out of time, but this is the guys responding to the rumor that there were people unhappy initially with the hiring of Tommy Lloyd.
Channing, I don't remember anybody saying that he wasn't fit. So that's the thing. A lot of people want to take, there was criticism of Tommy Lloyd. There was never criticism of Tommy Lloyd. That not fit. I know his resume. I know where he came from. I know what he did. Fit. There was no fit. The criticism was when the contract gets leaked the day they're interviewing Damon Stoudemire and Miles Simon. The criticism was those guys not feeling like they had a fair chance. The criticism was we should probably interview some of these names and give second interviews. So how we come back to the school and uplift the younger generation, the school has an opportunity to lift up the next generation of coaches. So let's say a guy like Brett Brillmeyer gets a second interview, even if it's window dressing, that helps him on his next interview. If you get a guy like Miles Simon that gets a second interview, even if that means you have to extend the process another 10 days, that's fine. But how are you not bringing these guys in just for interview sakes so that they can say they've received interviews? That's how this process works. So the criticism was never in Tommy. It was never in his coaching resume. It was never that. It was you have an opportunity to, even if you're not going to hire him, to lift up the next 10 U of A alumni coaches. So those guys get the chance, like, oh, Damon Stoudemire's coming in. Okay, well, next week he's coming in for round 2. Do you know what that says to all the other universities? Like, oh, wow, Damon Stoudemire is getting a second interview. It's down to him and 2 other people. We should bring him in because Arizona was close. We got lucky. That's the way the system works. So if you're going to ask us to come back and support the next generation, well, then their responsibility as a university is to make sure that they're doing that also for the guys that are out there representing the university from their past work. That's where the criticism came in. It was never about Tommy Lloyd. It was never about his success. It was never about anything. But people want to take it like, oh, they weren't happy and so now he's winning games. Oh, they're happy now. It's like, we know where he came from. We know his basketball pedigree. We were excited to get a level of that. The criticism was purely based off of how the process went, how the coaching search should have gone, in my opinion, that would have benefited guys in our Arizona tree, even if they had 0 chance of getting the job. That's the way you should do it.
All right. Well, that was very interesting and very pointed there from Richard Jefferson, who is very succinct in the way he gives his opinions there. I think he's got a point, but I just don't know if that was that was never the reality. I mean, Tommy Lloyd seemed to be the front runner from the get-go, and it was just kind of when the whole thing started to come out, that's just kind of what it appeared to be. And I kind of get what he's saying about giving guys, the shot to interview and how that looks. But then you would have had guys complaining, well, they just gave me an interview because they already knew who they wanted kind of situation.
To be fair, what he was asked was the former alumni of the basketball program and how they felt. So not just the general public. The question was about, we heard some rumors that maybe some basketball alumni from this program were upset with the hire.
Right.
And he was clear in that air. I think fans can think whatever they want. But as far as any former player, what he just laid out there is quite legitimate. Just the opportunity for some of those up-and-coming coaches to get that second interview, and that gets on the radar for other programs around the country that maybe they might even get an interview just because they got a second one to be the head coach at Arizona.
It's interesting. It's interesting the way that that whole thing kind of played out, but it was nice to hear their thoughts on it. We'll get back to what Channing said on that tomorrow as well. Like, he went in depth into kind of what he thought of the whole situation, and we'll let you hear what he said. But looking forward to having those 2 guys here in Tucson, along with Allie Clifton, as they'll kind of apparently be the hosts of the show on Friday night at McHale Center for the Red Blue game. Still limited tickets available, so get on out and get your tickets because, again, it is not going to be televised and it is not going to be streamed. So if you want to see those folks in action, get a chance first look at this team, you're going to have to do so by actually being inside the arena on Friday night.
What's the over-under on number of bleeps?
For the intro? I'm going to go, give me 9.
Let's hope
give me
9.
9.
Let's hope not.
I think they'll clean it up for McHale.
You got to watch. You want to hear some raw stuff. You should listen to the online post-game show for LSU football.
My dad used to have a satellite feed
Have you heard, I think it's called Wine and Whiskey or something?
My dad, way back in the day in the 80s, had a satellite feed, and they didn't have commercials, so you could just listen to the guys talking during they were real filthy. Just like they would just say whatever they wanted.
All right, thanks to J-Dub, thanks to Dragon Ball, thanks to Christy, most of all, thanks to you for listening. Yeah. Meow, what is it? What is it? Meow something? Meow? I forget the name of that group already.
Meow Capella.
Meow something. That's good. I like that. Meow Capella. We'll talk to you on Thursday. This is DK on the Sports Tip. I'm David Kelly on Wildcats Radio 1290. Give us a dance there, Dragon Ball.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet